shall see the fruits of your religion over time, right?
Yeah, it is tricky. I think with like Islamophobia or like like you get what I mean, where it turns into
Yeah,
like
but like a Christian civilization should be
yeah.
Islamophobic, just like Islamic society should be Christianophobic, right?
Oh, they are.
Like
Exactly.
that's normal, right? Like the people who think that we can all live in harmony, look at the history of the Middle East, right? The Muslims conquer, right? All the Christian regions, right? Christian Syria, Christian Egypt, on and on and on. The Balkan areas, did they debate? Did they convert?
Those
No, they
aren't super
conquered.
difficult
Correct.
to find.
That is the normalcy of
The reason or what is happening,
Do
the
you,
phenomena to
okay, but
study,
do you
I think, is misinformation. The internet and social media. It was brewing during the Obama times, right? All of this misinformation was building up, and it was right by the time Trump came. But there could have been other crazy motherfuckers, like just as crazy as Trump, who have been also come into place. So again, it's not. I don't think there's nothing really special about
So well, I do think there's something special about him. I think in 2016, had that field been smaller within just Jeb Bush and say Ted Cruz, then Trump, he would have lost. Yeah, Trump had was that field was massive, and he had 20% name recognition. And so it's very interesting. Which direction? One of the moments in the primary was so interesting was Kasich is critiquing on something, and Trump just pulls out his own numbers out of his pocket. He's the craziest man I've ever seen in this debate. Crumble up piece of paper. This is okay. This is why I'm like in the middle of the stage again, and Kasich is down there at like 2%. I'm at like 20, and he's at like 2. It was the only time I've seen that presidential candidate explain to people that your place on the stage is related to where you are in the polls.
I would speak honestly.
And I think he would have never. Again, if it was a 3-man race,
I pledge my banners to renew it.
Never done that.
I will never serve the usurpers or the wealthy altar. But there are battles to be
the
fought.
other thing he did
At times like this,
which I think was, so basically, I mean, the reason he lost to buy
you have mustered an army in your escort, which turning aside from our judgment and taking a course I myself deem reckless.
the second thing is,
For good or ill,
people wanted disruption
you are a leader of men.
until they
declare
did.
yourself,
And COVID,
the Lord
everything
will follow
was
you.
like,
They never took you
people
for a turn
were panicked. And so, knowing
Your
COVID
intentions are
won,
good, but what we need in this
then,
moment
they wanted, the
is a
people wanted
king.
disruption again. And I think that's why, the
May I
Democrats
have a word of
ran
private?
two very, very capable people, Hillary and Harris. Both were capable people. But people didn't want capability, they wanted disruption. And that's why he's won.
Well, that's you kind of making my point for me in terms of the time makes the man, and where Trump has an undeniable genius is he understands the attention economy, and
Chris Hayes.
No. And like, people in the time, like people trying to rationalize like Trump winning and say that he would have destroyed Jeb Bush and Ted Cruz easily. The reason he won is because he won lies and rage, right? And he would have won with 3, 2, or 10 Republicans. And that is why he's willing to be, that's why he's able to win versus other ones, because people are not willing to say the crazy shit that he says. And he is. That's the advantage that he has.
But
On rational
Carlos,
there is a reason why people voted for him.
Carlos, isn't that kind of what I'm saying though? Is the attention economy? He understood the old paradigm of how you run to be president could be ripped up. To Scott's point, I'm in the middle of the stage. I've got 20%. In effect, you're an idiot. You're a nobody. You're on 2%. You're at the end. Like, no person running for president would have ever said such a thing. He understood that he could say that, and it would garner him more press. And also to Scott's point, I'm a traditional reader of that primary, and I think Scott's right. There were 10 potential Republican nominees running in that primary, and as I remember it, when he was winning in a crowded field, he was only getting about 30% of the vote.
He came into that primary with 20%. He was rolling into 20, but the field was so big that's all he needed, and his media attention and all the media kissed his ass, and it was so interesting. I mean, I remember Joe Scarborough and Leah Brzezinski. They had that guy on every morning. And at one point he said, "You guys have been like supporters." And Mia, they freaked out. They were like, "We're not supporters. We're just taking you seriously." You're absolutely right. You could not have done that in a three-person field. You just couldn't have done it. Because the money would have gotten obliterated.
I think I don't know, I don't understand. Let me address what Russell said. Like, you say that he understood like the attention economy, and that the problem that I have is saying that Trump understood that. He doesn't understand anything.
It's not true. It's not true.
He just does stuff out of like what he thinks, but not like understanding. It's just like what he like the first shit that comes to his head.
Collicular or whatever his name is.
Right?
Clavicular
the
guy.
problem is
He slams his jawbone with a hammer to try to give himself a nice jaw.
Comedy movies in Mexico about this comedian who always ends up like in very high positions, pretending that he is very capable, and everybody thinks like he's very capable, but he doesn't know anything. But every time he does something, everybody praises him. Like, oh wow, and it's a comedy, and it's like what is happening, like arguing that Trump actually understood that, and he made the calculation of how to win, and if I say this outrageous thing, I'm just gonna get people. It's not what happened. He's just an outrageous person that happened to be in a society that lacks critical thinking, right, and lacks like understanding of what is reality and what isn't. It's a liar. It's a pathological liar, and that's all what he does. He lies. And if people can distinguish a lie from a truth, right, that's it. It's nothing about understanding or he's really like some sort of genius that controls the masses. It's just a person who's able to lie that people cannot know the difference between true and lie. That's all.
No, it's not that simple. If you look at all the failures of President Trump's career, what has always survived is his name. It doesn't matter if it's hotels, it doesn't matter if it's hotels, his magazines, the university, his clothing line, his like selling steaks. Every single thing President Trump has ever done in his entire life is branded on his name. And he understands the power of television because he did Oprah. He did, like 60 Minutes. He did all the old talk shows back in the day, and he kept his name in the media. He went to Playboy parties. He stood in the forefront all the time, knowing how much television mattered. And then when he did reality television, his name was as big as the brand. So like he understood playing reality television to that degree. And so when he went into a presidential election cycle, he was calling in onto every single cable news station and like voicing his opinion.
And he didn't think he would win. He told Howard Stern said this, and Howard Stern used to be one of his confidants. And basically, he told Stern this was a goof. He was just basically trying to. When he won in 2016, he was renegotiating his current contract, and he wanted more money. run for president, and that would get me, and get my brand out. And again, crazily, he had this huge field, and he had no idea he would do this well.
To my point is that this wasn't the first time he ran for president either. He ran as the Reform Party candidate and lost.
Yeah.
But my point is that his weaponizing TV, which is, because I've worked in campaigns, I've worked on the Republican side as a political consultant, and I've been at the presidential election levels. He understood that getting earned media, free time on TV, hundreds of hours of coverage are like talking and saying things, outspent every single dollar that the rest of the field could spend. To Scott's point, the field was too big, so the donors are all split up. So Ted Cruz was competing for donor dollars against Kasich, and everyone was competing, splitting it up. And the problem is that they couldn't outspend the amount of TV time that President Trump got organically. So yeah, he was smart. He wasn't just lying to 100%. He branded himself. His name recognition was so much better than everyone else because he stayed to the forefront his entire career. So to label him as an idiot ignores his survival skills, and his survival skills is a human.
Exactly. So saying that he understood that being on TV every day was useful for him, as if that is something only a genius could understand or foreseen, is what baffles me. What is the that's not what I'm arguing. Of course, everybody could understand that if the people are talking about you, it's good for you. You don't need to be a genius or some kind of guru of social interactions in media. The only thing that I'm saying is that the guy, it is an idiot. He is an idiot. The only thing that happened is that because we're in a society that lacks critical thinking, people cannot distinguish between this guy lying, right, and telling the truth. And because of that, he maintained the support through the whole thing. He came out of that stare, and the first things that he said were very stupid stuff. And from that point, I think he was 2% or something on the polls, and it went 14% within a week.
Actually, this is where you're missing it. The truth is probably somewhere in the middle.
He was at 20%.
Wait,
from the whole time.
No. Before he came out of the stairs, he was not in 20%. That's not true.
The truth is probably somewhere in the middle. He's uncouth and crass, but I don't think he's some Otto von Bismarck level brilliant strategist. But there is a brilliance to some of the stuff he does, just as an emergent phenomenon. He always has been this way. Never surrender or whatever. He lies to a degree and frequency that would make any traditional politician blush, but he also, in a similar way, tells the truth about some important things, and that's really why his star began to rise at the same time that there was just such feckless leadership on both sides, and there was, the professional political class had failed us, the neocons had failed us, and so people were willing to take kind of an experimental treatment for what they thought was an incurable disease. And coming down the stairs, he was fucking dead on about immigration. The wall, as retarded as I thought it was, probably would have been a good idea. Some of his instincts are actually spot on, and then he does lie about insane other things that strain credulity.
So immigrants, right? And this is from the Cato Institute, right? Undocumented immigrants are revenue positive for the country because they pay taxes and they don't consume services. So I mean, he's wrong on.
See, that's not true. These things get tortured, but
no, it is true.
Reducing everything down to just GDP misses the point. It's always over-indexed. Even if I would concede you that point, it's demoralizing, it's corrosive to the connective tissue of a healthy, stable cultural society when there are all these carve-outs for laws when population centers and demographics shift beyond any kind of natural, 1 degree at a time evolution where people can be folded into the broader culture. So I would argue that those Cato Institute numbers are accurate, but even if they are, it neglects like certain other things that like cannot be captured just via a simple cost benefit analysis on financial expense.
What you're saying, Todd? Why are undocumented people from the Southern Hemisphere who are Christian, who are patriotic, why are they a drain on the culture? I don't understand.
Wasn't it like self-evident? I mean, the selective pressures for assimilation have never been lower. You cannot have an atomized.
Until it was dissolved in 1994.
What's happening?
So a medical doc, just keep that in mind for later. In 1994, hey Darryl, I'm gonna mute you real fast. A recreational up the Hudson.
I have no problem with quote-unquote immigrants, legal or illegal, but when you let 10 to 15 million people in a short period of time, like that's just not a healthy thing for a society. It depresses wages, it's corrosive, again, to morale, all these things that don't get captured immediately and neatly through some, study that's funded to...
Why does it depress morale? Tell me, I don't get that.
Are you serious?
Yeah, no, I don't find, I don't
have like millions of people illegally enter your country. This isn't Ellis Island. Like, you cannot have the same level of mass migration when you have welfare, where immediately you can sign up for services. There were people getting flown all over the country. There were people being put up in nice hotels. Again, I don't necessarily even care, like, woe is me. From just a purely pragmatic standpoint, that's not a healthy foundation for a high-trust society. And it retards people's, buy-in to, work hard, follow the rules, because there's this, gross asymmetry, which is usually, again, benefiting capital far more than it is the middle class. This used to be something that was really important to the left at one point, and then it kind of flipped, but this absolutely depresses wages. I don't understand how that would not be demoralizing.
So if I can ask him a question, demoralizing, I'm genuinely curious. Like, when you say demoralize, if you don't mind if I ask you where are you located, and when you say it's demoralizing, can you just more specifically say for who?
Yeah, I'm with you, Jack. I don't feel demoralized.
Okay, but I'm not arguing on Todd's side here, but there is a large precedent for what he said. If you to look at the 1840s as mass German migration to the United States and Irish, and you read the newspapers of the time, and people were worried that the specific Anglo culture of the United States was going to be lost. Ditto, you move another 50 years on from that, in the late 19th century, it was Italian migration. People were worried. The chattering classes were worried, and dare I say that large wave of non-Anglo Western European migration, in part, not wholly, but in part, led to the progressive era because wages were depressed. There's massive precedent for what Todd's saying. Where I would disagree is about people being demoralised, and I would rephrase it to say that what people have done in countries all over the world, when there's mass migration of people that don't look like them and or don't worship like them, don't talk like them, they worry about the culture of the country changing. And that's universal. That's totally universal. 1 million Syrians after the Syrian civil war went to Germany. There was a spike in far-right voting in Eastern Germany because of it, because people rightly or wrongly, I'm not putting a value on it, were worried about so many people coming so quickly that didn't look like them, didn't have the same religion, didn't have the same cultural mores. These are age-old questions that people ask about mass migration. Dare I say it, when my folks moved to England in the early 1960s, the same things were said.
But the difference is, like,
they operate in offices outside of City Hall, often identifying corruption, waste, and abuse by the city's most
both
powerful.
explicitly and implicitly, there were much more intense selective pressures to fold yourself in.
Black niggers in, boy.
Right, kick that retard out. There were implicitly and explicitly. Scott, just one of you guys, explicitly and implicitly, there was much more intense selective pressures to some light. Now, you can have like half of your consciousness exist in the country that you came from.
Todd, such a lame up, boy, such a lame up, boy, such a lame up, boy, such a lame up.
This is really exciting. What a dork. Anyways, satellite television, free, FaceTime, whatever. Like, we would have to pay per minute.
Have you tried using
anyone that grew up, elder millennial older, remembers that you had ration longer than
Don't bring him up.
So I think, more to the point of depressed wages and people being concerned about it, you see this reality play out in the southern part of the United States and the Midwest, when you have farmers and you have skilled labor that can't compete with the prices that are being presented by corporations and by contractors that are subcontracting to migrant labor. And you have this problem to where in the United States, the age of skilled labor is getting older and older and older, and people aren't taking up the jobs because why would you go into a field when you're constantly being undercut by migrant labor who's here, who's doing jobs poorly, or sometimes doing it great, but often poorly, and they're charging less, and people are just going to choose to pay less. And you have the same thing with corporate farms, that they're not beholden by the federal government, they're not punished by the state government for hiring migrant labor because it's subcontracted by 7 levels. So for a small farmer, eventually they lose their farm, and the quiet despair that happens in this country when people sell their properties that they've done, or they sell the businesses that they've had for generations. It's happening over and over, and it's quietly happening in places that maybe you guys aren't from, but I've seen it happen to generations of people. And I'm an immigrant. My family came over in 75, so I'm not beholden to this, but my family chose to assimilate, but I've seen what has happened.
Henry, where in the country are you?
I'm now in Philly, but I'm from Louisiana, and I spent the majority of my life in the South or the Midwest.
Where does your family come from?
But hold on, I asked Todd earlier. Todd, where in the country are you?
Why does it matter?
Well, because it impacts what your thought process is.
He's on a border.
Yeah, I'm on a border. For again, the demoralization thing is very specific. Depresses wages. Also, people didn't vote for this. For the same reason, it was depressing to see the retarded pull out of Afghanistan in the way we did, even though I wanted us completely out of that region. No one voted to go to war with Iran. No one voted for mass migration. It becomes demoralizing when you realize you're functionally a slave, and the political class not only does not listen, and there's way too much leverage to capital post Citizens United, and there was already too much leverage in that direction anyways.
Hi, moderators. This is Alistair. Could you put me in the queue? Thank you.
Yeah, I want to be in the queue too.
So the reason I ask is because the idea of the demoralization is something that, it's a very specific word when you hear it, right? So I was, talking
Yeah, it's a word.
Scott,
words are specific. What is
yeah.
it?
So if you let me finish, I'll get to it, right? So I live in New York City, born and raised in New York City, and immigrants, at least here, because someone earlier mentioned Ellis Island, right? So immigrants here, have always been, despite what I actually disagree with what Roy Hill said, because immigrants here have always been.
Excuse me, moderators. When I say I'd like to be put in the queue, I'd also like to be acknowledged that I exist by confirming that I'm being put in a queue. Hello?
Jesus Christ.
Oh yeah, kick this faggot up too.
I'm a huge Kitover fan.
So what I'm saying is that's why when you say demoralizing, it is a very specific word. And when you say like the country is being demoralized, words have meanings, right? So it's like maybe where you are in the country.
I said it.
Oh, I'm sorry, Todd. Did you just say kick this F word? Did I hear you correctly, Todd?
No,
Yeah, you did.
you didn't hear anything. I said it's demoralizing. Did I say it's like
They kicked me! They kicked me! They kicked me. Oh my god.
This isn't some racist thing, or just because some
We're back!
Like, speak directionally about something a certain way.
No.
I think it's a great folly to brace against it.
Why is
For
it that
ideological reasons. This is like
we're
raw
doing the dog
pragmatism.
and pony dance with
It is
Comey,
not healthy
where if I would have
society to
been
build
on North
something.
Carolina and I would have found seashells that said 8647,
New York City.
I'm almost positive,
history
I would probably be looking at 8x8 cells.
throughout the
Absolutely.
hundreds of years of New York. There's been so
Well,
much
I'm just kind of
conflict over
curious,
like not all
you're the Miss
roses.
Lawyer,
Nobody did.
you got some experience.
Man,
Why
words
is
mean
it
things,
that
right? So
when
don't
it comes to
interpret what I'm saying.
individuals,
Just listen to what I'm saying.
with
Because what I said is immigrants
with
have been
backgrounds like
very
his,
productive.
why does it take so long that we gotta go
Of the
through this
history
dog
of
or
New
pony
York
show?
City.
But on an
And if you
average
look at,
citizen,
so when
there's a hook, line, and sinker pretty
America,
quick.
right? Like
I
this
mean,
perspective
I'm
that we're
I
one
want to
country.
hear
It's
your
just false.
I didn't even say one word.
We're 50
Well, I mean,
kind
it's
of little
there's a
micro
lot of
countries with
legal
You
muscle
get
he
to
has
say
also
Yeah,
that he's coming
I
at
don't
us
try
with.
about.
And you
yeah,
have
there are, I
pressure
think
coming
the last I
with respect to emotions and
there are over
trying
100
to
languages spoken in New York
discount
City, right?
the,
But what happens is
the
we all get on
charges.
the subway.
And
For the
you know,
most
the
part,
average
we crowd
citizen
into the
may not,
subways.
may
into
have
buses.
legal aid
We
to help
crowd
them,
into
or
buildings.
a public defender. I mean, this
no one
is
is
coming at
actually,
it with a lot of legal
at least
muscle.
in my experience,
I just,
like
again, you'd have to look at all the
raised here
particulars.
with the
I
exception
think
of
the
living
point of the indictment
Tokyo
is
for a year.
a pretty loud statement.
We're the largest city
You know,
building
is the topic of events ever since
second closest,
the
we're close to 9
assassination
million.
attempt is just
second
with political
closest is
violence and the tolerance for
Los
it,
Angeles,
and that we have laws
4
in
million.
place about
Then
threatening
you jump down to Chicago,
our
it's 2
president
million.
and about
and we
threatening
don't,
public officials,
at
and
least for the most part, what we've
we
learned
should
to do
clamp down
is
on those laws. And we talk about it in rooms
like
where,
nothing to do with
clubhouse rooms where we have people that will threaten public officials and say things that are in violation of federal law. So
Why is the process so long with officials versus your average citizen?
Obviously, in
That's what
large
I want
part,
to know.
immigration
I understand.
has led
That's
to the United
generally a lot of
States,
people
and in
have
large
those
part,
questions.
communities have
You
gone
know,
on.
why do they
What
need
I
so much
said
muscle
is
when
that
the
if
average
you go back and
good
read
average
the
American
1940s, there was
it's
a worry at
less
one
of a
point
lengthy
that those
time.
early German immigrants, English would
requesting
stop
certain
being the first
discovery,
language
they're
of the United
requesting
States.
certain,
You go back to
information
the
be disclosed,
1880s,
and they're filing motions with the court. I mean, they're stalling it,
because
and that would be my gut reaction. This case, I've not paid too much attention to it, and I apologize. But just generally on the topic, I think it's ripe because
people coming
we're
from
really
nations
looking
which were
down
historically Western
that
European
gun barrel of
Anglo-Saxon.
political
That's the
violence
reason why it
that's
stopped.
threatening our country.
To say that
And I think that the administration's trying to make a statement that it's not going to be tolerated. Threats are serious.
Thank you.
And again, they don't have to make law. The law's on the books. It just hasn't been,
here, right? It's
know,
like the wife comes
prosecuted.
into the kitchen, she says, "Hey, I want to take this to Disney."
A system
And
that
the thought
you
bubble
can't have
pops
these
up.
threats from political officials. You can't try to write it on Twitter, you're going to flag it, they're going to figure out who next, who you are, they're going to track you down. I mean, there are people sitting in jail for threats on social media.
We talked about the best that you have serendipity today.
Serendipity, where's going on that?
She's been tracking it avidly. She's hungry. She's already responsibility and I think she's gonna get it, Abby. I think there was definitely a failure in the process. Jailing someone for several months over
I don't understand how.
But so he was indicted today on the 8647 seashell thing. How do you counter the argument that people are saying this is sour grapes, this is petty, vindictive retribution, this is not justice, this is just the Republicans want to get their lick back from their perceived feeling that Trump has been mistreated, as well as everybody in his administration, that they had any ability to go after, like that.
How would I counter that? I would tell them we could go back to Obama going after the Republicans and the 501c3s by conservative entities, Obama targeting them through the IRS. I mean, there's been targeting, there's been political targeting. I mean, clearly it happened in the Biden administration going after Trump. On how many jurisdictions did they go after him?
I
How
think
many
that's a
different
very
ways?
That's their
Just talk
argument.
about New
way to see
York.
it, because
What's
it's not
happening?
just that,
New York
it's
Republicans and
supply and demand, there's
conservatives
more
are
supply,
supposed to
therefore
uphold the Constitution
there's
and our laws, and just
demand,
because
like,
they did it then, the
bring the prices
whataboutism
down.
is that doesn't mean that we
The
should do
fact
it now
that people
because they
coming
did it
here
then.
and they are on
I
productive
would
age
argue,
makes the
first of all,
economy move. They
it seems to be the
bring
nature of the
more
beast.
money
But,
to the
and do
economy.
I think it's a good thing?
People
No.
are able
On
to
the one
sell
hand. On the other
more,
hand,
right?
the
And
point
that
I was making
increases
about
wages,
political
that
violence
increases
is really
productivity, that
important.
increases
And
money.
it is
So
important to
the economic
investigate
factors are
and
like
when
really complex.
there is
You
enough
truly need to see what the
probable cause
experts
to
said
indict when there
about
are
is
threats
this
against public
right.
officials.
Okay, so this is
If we don't start doing that, again, the law is there. We don't have to pass legislation. It's there. So what was that lady's
But
name,
it's
Kathy
true,
Griffith,
though.
when Trump was first?
100%
Right?
true.
I mean,
No, like that's not true,
decapitation.
right? If you hear what the economists said, right, it's
If you
like
don't, people are.
it's
If you
actually
don't, you're going to hear the shit that we hear in the classrooms where they call for violence and harm against public officials.
like
It's just,
labor
it's
and
dangerous. It's dangerous. My Democrat senator
exactly, but
got threatened. This way, social media. The guy is sitting in jail. They just had a trial there. Doing exactly
they
that.
won't do it also because they
You have to put your foot down.
legally in the country and they can get better jobs. The unemployment was like 4% during the Biden era. That is probably what you guys are complaining about, like not finding like being very bad for. So this goes to my second point about saying why Trump won, which is like really don't know what story is true, right? They just are able to follow whatever social media or whatever knows in the
Doesn't mean
internet
that
they
we
think
have to
of,
be
but
shitty
they will
too.
not
And then the perception
happen.
is
Probably Henry thinks that
like
actually
86
Donald Trump
doesn't
won
mean
the
dead.
2020 election
Not
or
to
something.
many people.
Right?
86 means
But like
just to
if you
remove, to get rid of. So
Okay,
what
do
was
you quote one of
Cohen's
the 2020
culpability
election?
in this seashell joke? And I really do think it was a seashell joke. He walked on the beach, he saw
Okay,
some
well,
shells, he like ha ha ha,
certainly
wouldn't this be
is, right?
funny? Because
Certainly,
Gretchen Whitmer
I believe there's a lot of people
had
who
in the first
don't think that
administration
that
an
2020 and like
86-45. I think it was in right before the 2020 election. They had that code 11-4-45-86 or something like that, and nobody knew what the letters meant and the numbers meant, and then we understood. Oh, they're campaigning to remove Trump.
And
Monica,
this is the
wouldn't
thing
it all
about
be an
American culture that
evidentiary
Americans
question?
don't want to admit.
It's just going to be
There
an
are jobs
evidentiary
that
question. You're going to
Americans
see what did he
simply don't wanna
communicate,
do, right?
who
They
did he
ask
communicate it
Americans,
to,
if an
how did he
iPhone
communicate,
costs
what
$5
ancillary
more,
comments
would
were
you
made
still buy
along
it?
with
And
that posting.
overwhelmingly, something
What
like
that
82% of
within
people
a vacuum
said they
may seem
wouldn't
one
buy
way
an
to you, but
iPhone if
within
it costs
that
$5
you
more,
know the
right?
whole picture,
To Carlos's
it may
point,
have a
there
completely
are
different intent.
jobs
And
that
the
Americans simply
point
don't
of the prosecutor
wanna do.
on
Do you
this
think,
is
like, I'm just
to
gonna
try to
ask you
show
an
the mens
honest
rea,
question.
to
Do
bring
you
out
think
what
the
the
average
criminal
American
intent was. If
wants
in
to
fact
go
there was
pick
criminal intent,
strawberries
who knows?
in a
But
hot
that's going to
field
be a question of
all
evidence.
day?
Yeah,
And would,
no, I can't
if
argue
they
with
did,
that
let's
at
just say
all.
if they did,
I do
right?
think it's super funny
Are
that the White
Americans
House
willing
posted
to
a
pay
picture of the King
for
of
the
England and
increased
Trump with
price
the
of
tagline
strawberries
"Two
at the
Kings"?
supermarket to
And
pay
like so,
Americans
Comey's
more
joke was
to go
seashells
pick them?
calling
I
for
just
the
want to
threat
ask
of
you,
removal of Donald Trump. That's the left's type of humor, and then our type of humor is to troll the left with pretending Trump's a king. And so, like, our sense is we're very different.
Monica, the ultimate troll is we had
point is,
revolutionary
Americans
guards,
were asked,
people dressed up like
would they
revolutionary
pay
guards with the King
more
of
money
England there. I mean,
for an
to me
iPhone?
that was the ultimate troll.
He's one of a
What do
kind.
you mean?
Like, you can say a lot about Trump, but what you cannot say is there's two of them. You can't.
But why would I make that up? Who would make something like that up?
I believe that people may respond to that.
I've been listening long enough to have input now.
Very uncompelling, given the relative.
Well, I was just going to make an observation, like,
things like
I understand what you're saying about the jump, like, you know, 8647, you know, thing is,
during
you know, that's a, to me, that's a message.
inflation,
Yeah, you start off as a joke, but someone can,
more or
you
less
know, can take that and get the misconception of a projection of something bad.
disproportionately gone to
That's
capital
where
over the
I
last
would worry about it only, and I hope the prosecutors would really focus on is, you know, there's a lot of people that will do harmful things for, you know, motivation or getting enticed by someone. And with Comey's position that he held, you know, by having that, like, the reality is, if you would have seen something like that, being the fact that as former FBI director, you would be like, huh, 86, 47.
Well, like, again, if we look at the numbers, like 4% unemployment with
you would share amongst
disputes, right? He doesn't dispute the 20 election, but he disputes the 4% unemployment during the Biden era, which is my point. Like, you just don't want to follow what is actually facts, right?
But you understand how unemployment numbers are actually calculated to stop
That's kind of how I see it. I hope they really put that
Fine, you may argue that that's not like, you may argue that that's not like a very good to measure the economy. But you cannot, what you cannot deny is what the number was actually was, right? You may say that I am a better economist and I'm gonna come to my top index. It will be relative to
Ideology should be how we capture for their speech.
that's not my point, and I don't want to talk about it. Like, if you're an economist, if you're an economist, and you have a better way to measure the economy, write a paper,
We
publish
have to
it,
be
and
very,
then
very careful.
people
We
can
have
read
to
it.
protect
economists on the planet would say what I'm saying.
That was like someone like that was supposed to be.
But that's not true. Like, economists publish, like, the numbers that we get, the official numbers that we get are those, right?
I don't support
The reason you want to figure out how to calculate
take it out of
numbers
context, sir.
so you can figure out if the
No,
stats
I'm. So you said
accurate.
that
So if you have a
when
large
he
number of
said such and
Americans
such,
who drop
that
out
it's
of the
reasonable
workforce,
that a crazy
you're not
person
going to be
who is not
measuring
acting
stats you
reasonably
use to measure the
could
economy.
take the thing that he
Which
said
means you have a whole group
and
of people
use
who
that
aren't
thing that he said
working,
as a
that are
public figure
unaccounted
to
for,
justify
for giving up on finding jobs,
some
which I
kind
think
of
was
violent
what Todd
action
and
or some
Henry
kind of destructive
point.
action. That's what
But,
you said.
but,
That was
but
the
you have
point
to
that you made,
measure
right?
apples with
I'm
apples.
going to answer
Okay,
it
you cannot have
Stephanie.
a measure
You
of the
should have used
economy.
the word
Wait,
foreseeable,
you
the
cannot
legal
have
term
a measure of
foreseeable.
the
And
economy,
that would be the
right, being
standard
done on
that
2021 during the
Stephanie
Biden,
meant. That it
2020
would,
the
it
Biden
would have been
administration, and
foreseeable,
then
and
change
does he
it in
have a duty
2024, right?
with
It
respect
has
to
to be the same
who he is,
kind of apples to
and
apples
what is his
measurement.
duty
If
of
you don't
care, and
agree,
would it have
if you don't
been
agree with the
foreseeable
way
someone
it's
would
done,
lie or
right, you can come up with a
triggered
thing.
or
I don't
use
know,
that
paper.
as a dog whistle in some way
So,
and commit an act of violence? Stephanie, is that what you were
did
saying?
this exact stuff.
You beat me to it, Miss Ann.
It's economic practice inside of the
Abby,
United
you're
States
not
government
supposed to
for
defend
decades.
people who can't
Exactly
articulate
my
their
point.
points.
I know exactly what he was
Exactly
saying.
my
It's
point.
just
This has
something.
been done
So that means you have to
But it's less fun when you do it because when you do it, you can go back to spread them simply spar and do the.
I didn't hear what you said because
Just
you
give
two
him
were
the word
talking at the same
foreseeable.
time.
I think that's what he meant.
That stat does not capture as neatly.
I
was genuinely
And Sharon made that point too, like the gravity of Comey's job in office, his public profile, his knowledge of the insanity that is the left, well, some parts of the left. What was his culpability and responsibility, knowing that he was sending that message out to never Trumpers and
Okay, what
Trump derangement syndrome
what
victims?
statistic do
Yeah,
you
just a
use?
simple question. Do you think what he said was correct?
You're not smart enough to even engage in this. Let's
Oh, really, dude?
Are we
Right.
talking
Okay. So
legally or are we talking morally?
like
I'm
that's
asking
like
you.
the fact that you say
Do you
that in
think-
a conversation
Those are two
shows
different
that
things.
you
I know,
able
but do you
to
think
take it
morally
into a
or legally?
conversation.
How do you think?
That
Do you think
coming
when
to
you
the
legally?
point
Do you
that
think
you
morally?
guys
Legally,
shut
I
up,
was
dude.
thinking
You-
that it
shut
is
up,
fine.
shut up.
It is protected speech.
Right, no, but you
If
don't
you
walk
have
around thinking
4%
illegally. You think
unemployment,
morally.
that
right?
shows
That's
like
common sense,
historically when we measure unemployment,
See, but
that shows that
you
we
have
have
changed
very
the
low
goalpost to
unemployment.
No, I didn't.
Which means
I
the
didn't.
economy,
People
when
don't
it
walk
comes
around
to
thinking legally all day long.
salaries, by the
I
way,
do.
another
You
metric
do.
that we can use is
When it comes to matters
salaries
that are
where
legal matters,
getting
absolutely.
increased.
But when it
right?
comes to
Increasing in
matters
salaries,
of morality,
low
no, I don't
unemployment.
think that it's a nice guy thing to do to go on and say something that even possibly could be construed in that way. Now,
Okay,
that said, my
in
understanding
the
of the term
aggregate, they
86
have been
comes from
increasing. I'm not
working in
arguing
food
that
service in
there's
my
no
teenage years, and
people
all that
suffering
means
out
is
there and
we
they're
don't
not
have
doing
any more
well.
of that.
I'm
Don't
just
let
talking
people
about
anymore.
economic metrics that are official
Yeah,
economic
even in the
metrics
biker
that
world,
we
like
used for
86 just
decades,
means you
as you
can't
say, to
trust them.
measure
There's
the
no good.
economy.
He's bad.
Again,
No
if
good.
you wanna
It
use
doesn't
other
inherently mean
But it mixes somebody. That means don't ever deal with them. It's better that they're dead. That's basically what 86 is. And even in the server world, there's no more of that left.
Not
Means
that the statistic can't
that
be
it's
valuable,
finished. It's
but
done.
that you're failing to account for
Could
those
be.
who are
No,
low
yeah,
level
you
and
just said it.
I think that is.
that's
I
a
think that
deficit in the
is
statistics to explain
frankly
the economy.
pearl-clutching.
But again,
And I think
Marshall,
that there's
you
a
have
habit
to
of
measure
pearl-clutching across
apples
the
with
aisles when it
If
comes
you
to
want to
issues
have,
that
if you want to
affect
propose
their
a
team.
different
So
metric,
if the other
let
team
me know
does
what it's
something, we
called,
need to
and we
clutch
can
our pearls, and
compare
we
it
need to
and
say
see
we need to
how
rise
the
above
economy
that.
was
We need to
done
say
with
that
Marshall
is
metric
wrong
that
and it
wants
is
to propose.
wrong
Unless
to
you have a
such a degree
metric,
that
you
those
don't,
people
you
ought to
have
be
no
punished.
point of saying
And
that
I
that this
frankly
is
think that that's retarded.
Okay,
I
hold
don't
on.
think
That's
it's
an
a
interesting
Marshall
thread I
metric.
want to pull.
I
Is
guess
it the
my question,
Republican
and
conservatives'
my major,
ego that are
my degree
saying
is
that,
in
oh,
economics, right? So
this is
my
not
question
that
would be,
big of a deal.
if
We're not
people are no
snowflakes like
longer
the
looking,
left. We're gonna
then
say that
for
this
the
is just a
purposes
free
of
speech
keeping,
matter
like,
and
labor statistics,
say
how
that
can
yeah
we
he can
survey
say
those
8647 if he
if they're no
wants
longer looking,
and we're
but
tough
there's a way
enough
they
to
can
take
just
that
pop into a
speech.
website or fill out
And
a
is that a
form
problem?
and say, hey,
Because
I'm
we've seen
how
the
can
left,
you count
like there's
people
that new survey out
it would appear
that
don't want to be
25 to
counted.
30%
if
of
we-
the
if we-
extreme
if we're not
left
counting
or
them,
say that
and we're trying to
political
come up with
violence is sometimes
some type of
necessary,
measurement, like
where
some type
3%
What do you
of the
call that,
far
Bob?
right or extreme
I
right
think just
wing
based on how you
make
do
that
it,
same
you have to, like how you would do that. You
argument?
have to account
Monica,
for
what if
the
Trump
people that really
had a
don't
meme
think
that
about that
said
stuff. I mentioned in the survey,
86 word salad
and
or 80,
I'm not entirely
86
sure
Paris
if you
or
have people
86
avoiding the survey.
a reference to
exactly how you're
another
gonna get
person.
an accurate answer
What
on
what
any
do you
kind of
think?
statistics.
How would you react to that?
At least, I'm not
86, let's go.
reading on my strong suit is history and more.
Yeah, and knowing
But like, I
his
think it's
responsibility
unfair the expectation
and what
here.
where
Well, I
what
think
his
that
values.
argument there, well,
Okay.
he's the
Cookie
president of the United
Monster!
States.
What if
He
he's
has a
running,
higher standard of
running
care,
for
right?
office?
Utility
Take it
and
back. He's
exactness of,
running
like,
for
what is
office
measuring now.
before
Keep
he's
on
president.
saying
He's
apples
running
to
for
apples,
office
but
in this
sure, it
last
is a
election.
valuable tool,
And if
but
he
is it
had
as valuable
86
in a time period where
Harris or
gig workers
80,
that are
there's some
driving
reference to her.
DoorDash for 40 hours a week are considered employed when they would have been working a labor union job 20, 30 years ago?
actively running for
And had
office?
benefits and had
If he's just Donald Trump
the obsession with forcing
in a
Marshall or Todd to
ex-president,
come up with a new
and
metric
he
that's
had
perfect
that
and
out,
like will cover all these
86
things
word
is an
salad,
unfair
or
expectation of
86
them
Harris.
because they're just making a criticism of like, yes,
How would
unemployment
people
is
feel?
4%, but there are problems with that metric. That's
I mean, I
like
think that would be
unfair for you to be like,
the same way that this is being
how
profiled.
else would you measure
I don't
it?
know
Well,
if you
no,
would be
but
indicted over it either.
You're just no. What I'm saying is, but new metrics come out all the time, right? So it's I don't think it's
I don't
unfair.
know.
Again,
I just kind of want
Todd's
justice.
right. Marshall's
Abby,
right.
I had made the
People,
argument
on Wall
earlier
Street,
before you
we
got in
talked
here.
about
Hey,
the
Dr. Jordan, I can hear you. Can I go before you, or you need to go before me?
Instead of just saying, hey, the system
So,
sucks.
Abby, I made the argument earlier.
How do you do it?
Actually, had
Right?
wrote a
And,
tweet
it's
about it
easy
because
to
people on
bellyache
X
about
are
something,
celebrating, and
but,
I'm like,
if
well,
you're
wait a
gonna
minute.
bellyache, okay,
Like,
what's the solution?
why are you celebrating
Yeah,
it?
what's the solution?
Realistically
It
speaking,
doesn't mean, I don't think it means what you think it means. So,
my experience in politics,
I
is
said,
avoid all policies you don't recognize. Which puts you in a
I said the
position,
frustration
number
of
one,
Comey
probably not
doing
very
the seditiony things, steal dossier, Russian collusion delusion, scot-free, than having a seashell joke being considered prosecutable by the Justice Department is tangible. I'm very frustrated by it. I don't want vengeance or revenge. I was just hoping for justice. And then I put the
Hi, Frank.
he had done with him looking at the redwood trees, looking up and saying so many questions. And I'm just like,
Not in your face all the
it
time.
just doesn't seem like justice to me. Go ahead, Dr. J.
It's comparing tax returns versus symptoms.
Helping you keep
When I
your
deal with
way
measurement,
and staying out of your way.
I mean, the only measurement the federal government
Your job
has
so your
is
communities
our
feel
tax
secure.
returns. So like if we're trying to like encapsulate and like trying to capture people that are missing, it is looking at people who don't file taxes, and like this is an inaccurate measure because like there's plenty of people that are working off books, or they move to another country and they're like not reporting, etc., etc.
like that.
So like it's imperfect, but the only way you can look is like who files taxes versus who's like an actual showing up in the census, and like looking for those people and where they're missing and where they're located, and that's like how you find them and how you calculate them.
And hey,
You could also like here, right? So
retribution isn't an illegal mindset.
I think.
But,
the way you do
and I
unemployment
think
in
maybe
New
the
York is
indictment
every week
seems like
you
a
have to
lot.
go in and you
But at
recertify
the
that
same
you're
time,
unemployed, right? You get the
I could understand
you get
it's
the
an
6
easy
months, and
target.
then if
If a
you're
federal
unemployed
agent,
longer, you get the 1 year.
former
And
head
maybe
of a
what you
federal
could do is just keep
agency
incenting.
put
Human
something like
beings
that
are
up
incentive
and also
driven,
takes
right?
it down, that's a bit of a red
Hey,
flag.
if you're
You know, I
no
can't speak
longer
to
like
the
looking,
legality, but
and you pop into
I mean,
this the
Abby could
same
talk to that,
website
but I
that
just
you
think
use to register
that was
to
it
claim your
seemed like
unemployment every week.
to me I
Pop
was
in and we'll
thinking,
give you $100.
oh, in my mind, if I was
Right?
the head
Just
of an
tell us where
agency,
you-
yeah, I would take that down
It's
because
like
I
to
had
some
a
people,
reaction
fuck, the $100
to my own
isn't worth it.
reflexive
Or
thinking
whatever
and
the
be
case
like,
is, but I'm
hey, that's
saying,
not right.
Obvi-
But
the way
if your
to
boss
always
were to,
get
if
humans
your
to do
boss,
something
if your
is to
employer put something up on
incentivize it.
social media
That's just
and then took it down, how would that leave you feeling? I think it would leave people feeling uncomfortable, like you should know better, right? And maybe, and so I don't know the whole story, but that's my reflection.
Exactly. Not the middle class, but the argument that the immigrants were essentially taking the jobs, right? Because historically, right, if I said comparing apples to apples, even if it's not an accurate number that you suggest, will be a correlation to what the actual unemployment is, right? So if we are doing better now, or at least during the debating era, we were having like
I remember too when he had it up, when he put it up, you know,
That's what I want to
temperature was kind of elevated
It's
with,
not an irrelevant
with
metric,
Trump.
but again, it's just
And so,
not capturing
like
what
I
you
said,
think.
that's just my
It-
dumb
that's like
opinion.
saying
Even
the
when
health or
when a celebrity puts something up,
the level of
because
the Dow
you know
or the
that they've got to be a
GDP
little
somehow
more
captures the
guarded
health of
about
the middle
what they put
class
on
and the
social
stability
media.
of
Or any
broadly.
public figure, not in a
Like,
legal
when it matters,
framework, but just in a
who's no longer showing
popular
up,
sense,
who's underutilized,
culture
who's
sense.
participating,
What we
who's
consider a
actually better off, real
public
income,
figure.
person's costs,
When they do
wages
something
versus
like
rent
that,
increases,
people
the
are
cost to
watching,
borrow,
and so
inflation,
you know,
like
there
you
are
have
people
to
who
all these
really
things if
curate
you want to like
what they put
discern
up
what it is you're
carefully.
saying this 4%
And when a
metric.
public official does something, it
Using it to
passing by
hate
sure.
you.
Because I had no idea
To
that
construct like an actual argument that represents like reality,
about
it's
the
just
indictment
not
today,
useful.
so-
It's not even a half
I don't know,
truth.
Mr.
It's like a
Doctor,
quarter truth at best.
I got a question
You
for
can
this
talk-
man.
I was just talking about the argument that it
Yes,
will
sir.
depress
Thank you, Jordan.
the salaries, right?
Listen,
But
you
if
got
you
a moment?
want to talk of the broader economy, sure, bring all those things, right? Bring
If she doesn't,
what is
I might just
consumer
get
sentiment? What was the how much people were
What am I
spending
gonna do?
historically
Wanna
with
cut-
respect to other years? What was
Well, what I was
GDP?
going to ask is,
By most
on the way
metrics
out,
except inflation,
touch,
the
I'm
economy
gonna
was doing
touch
great.
baby's chart, PTR.
Right?
well, what I was going to ask was,
It's
if,
trending in a
on
bad direction,
Biden's
both
way
under
out
this
the door,
administration and
and when he was
Biden. Like, I don't
pardoning,
need to,
wasn't
like, pick one
Comey
or there,
pardoned
but
as well?
I think you're making this like far too simplistically. Like
Unfortunately,
housing
I
costs basically
misunderstood that.
doubled
'Cause I know
during
there's a
Biden
lot
era,
of
and the
people
cost
getting
of borrowing
pardoned,
money
you know,
doubled more or less. So
convicts and a whole
I don't
bunch
know what the
of
fuck
bells
you're
and
talking about.
whistles.
Even if
I
wages
thought Comey
increase,
was
purchasing
pardoned
power
as well.
decreases, savings
Can anybody agree with me
dwindled,
on that?
medical
But I
care
think
costs.
Biden-
I don't
Biden
think
made
Comey
the
was
decision
pardoned for sure, not by Donald
It
Trump.
was stave off the recession
An innocent man.
or inflate
that's
prices.
what I was going to
And he
ask
chose
that,
to inflate
you know,
prices. He put $1 trillion
Should
into
you,
the
don't
economy.
you have to commit a
And
crime,
I
be
think it was
accused of a
probably the
crime,
right move.
to be
It
pardoned?
staved off
Now,
the
I
recession.
was just
I mean,
curious about that.
No.
Daryl, what would you have
You
advised him to do? You're an
Biden
economist.
Well, it's
pardoned
kinda- it's
his
weird,
whole
right?
family,
Because
didn't he?
I've
Didn't
always made this
Biden,
argument that
this last go round pardoned
we have a population
people like
that
Adam
grows
Schiff and a
faster
bunch of
than
other
economic output,
people in
right?
government.
If we go back to like when Bill
if I
Clinton was
recall.
president,
Wasn't
when
Comey?
Bill
It
Clinton was
wasn't
president, I think it
don't
was
remember.
254 million people in the
Yeah, I
country.
don't
There were
remember.
people
Did you
who
know
remember
that?
his presidency.
Yeah, he was going through the yellow pages when he was pardoning
340?
people. I just don't know.
You know, since the
Don't
Great
remember
Depression,
if he pardoned Comey, but he
we've
definitely
added
pardoned
10
a shit ton
million
of
people
people.
to the population every 10 years, but we don't increase economic output for every human
They all
being.
do it.
Which I
They
don't.
should,
Have
but they
any
all
of
do
you guys heard the term economic stressor? If you have, I'll shut up. But if you have,
How can you pardon someone if they
every human
committed
being
a
is an
crime?
economic stressor,
Yeah,
right? So
I mean,
every human
I
being
thought you had to
needs
commit
a
a
doctor,
crime
needs
and
a
to be
police
pardoned.
department, needs a fire
Yes,
department,
Abby?
needs someone to respond. So every
Do get me on this whole subject
every
of
person
pardon
in
because
America
it's the
is an
one thing
economic
to change our
stressor.
constitution. That would be the
we
first thing I would
we have
change,
increased our
is take
we
away
are
the
increasing
power of
our
pardon.
population,
Because it's
and we are
it's
not
so
matching economic
sweeping,
output for
and
the increase
it really
in
comes from
population.
at a time in
We have what,
England
11 states in this
where there
country.
was a
Scott's
reason
heard
that
me
the
say
king
this
needed
before. We have
to
11
pardon, or
states
that the Lord
that
needed, the Lord of the
basically
Manor, or whatever, of
carry
the
the other
fiefdom had to
39.
pardon because they weren't in control of what was happening
They
in
started
the
talking about this
courts.
on Wall Street in
And it was
2004.
just a different
America's
time in history, and
insolvent,
why we brought that
we're not
over
raising enough
into
money through
our
individual
system, and
income tax, so we have to sell
then it
debt.
embedded in the
The more
Constitution.
debt
I'm
we
not
sell, the
sure,
more interest.
but
We're paying
this
out so much in
concept
interest.
of
What we need to figure out how to do.
I'm looking now
is
on
make
what he called it, but if I recall, it was like a blanket
that
pardon
take more
for
from
any
the federal system
potential
and put into the federal
charges
system.
that could arise out
We need
of
to
their
get some
role,
of these states
you know,
earning
in
more money.
Yeah,
I
see,
don't
I
know
take
if he did
serious
it
issues with
specific,
that.
like
I've worked
someone
with
like
state
Adam
government
Schiff, if
in
he did it
Louisiana,
specific to their
and the
role
GDP
in
of the state of
investigating
Louisiana
something
is
in
roughly
particular,
between
or
44
just
to 46
generally
in the rankings,
their
and
role in
the
government.
wages
And that
I
I
don't
don't
know
really answer.
and the
look it
medium wages
Unless
are
someone else on stage
48 to
knows.
49.
And I think it has something to do with
So
statutes of
the
limitations,
problem with
right?
Yeah,
Louisiana
well,
is
I mean,
that
it's
the
statutes are
majority
different on
of
different crimes.
the
But
liquefied natural gas, the majority of the country's
it was
liquefied
like a
natural gas
blanket
goes
pardon.
through there. A
Let me
huge
see if I
chunk
can find
of
it.
the petroleum processing, like refineries, happen in Louisiana. And
tons of the economy goes to the Mississippi, but that money never goes into the hands of people in Louisiana because all the ownerships and the corporations have moved
Perhaps that's
in the
the
last
term he used,
40, 50
but he
years
did
to
it
larger
with
states.
many different
Often their
officials
headquarters have moved to
before
Texas and
Biden
their
left
headquarters
office.
have moved to New
But
York.
someone correct
So
me
you
if I'm
say
wrong
that
on this.
Louisiana
I mean,
is
Schiff
like
came into my
free
head
I
because I
said
remember
anything
he
about
was one of
Louisiana.
them.
I didn't say anything about Louisiana.
But my point is, like, people will put states into this bucket
It's
where
a sweeping power that is not
they're
justified.
dragging down the country and they're taking
He
more
did
than
his
they can
family
give.
too.
But the
Biden did
reality
his
is
family
that
also.
often
Yeah, he did his
these
brothers.
states
Didn't he do Frankie and
don't
Jimmy?
control their resources anymore, and their
As well
ownership
as
lives in
Hunter.
other places. They moved to somewhere like Todd, where they're in Newport Beach, and their headquarters are in Silicon Valley or wherever on the coast. But like all the work and all the natural
justification
resources
for
that
the
are being
officials
extracted
is
are happening in a place
help
where
them
people are poor.
to
And it drives
evade
me
any
crazy.
So then what you're
Like when
saying
it happens,
is,
like
political
so what you're saying,
targeting.
this is me asking.
That would be the
right? So what you're
justification, but
saying
it's a
is,
preemptive
But-
pardon,
Louisiana's
right?
It's a preemptive pardon, and preemptive pardons are good
I'm really asking you a question.
It's
I don't
more
if they
than
did something that they
petroleum,
legitimately
it is
needed to be tried for.
tourism, it
even
is the
if
trade down the Mississippi, the ports.
even if it
Like
had the
there's
appearance of
tons of
potentially
money that
being
goes through
political.
Louisiana.
So,
And
look,
it's
they did something
midway in the
legitimately bad, they
rankings
ought to be
of
I mean, the
GDP
most
for
famous
states in the
one,
US. But we're
Brigham,
49th
is Nixon.
typically in wages,
Right.
and it's
So,
because
I mean, that was a
the money
preemptive pardon.
outflows
Exactly.
out
You,
that
you and I
state.
are on the same page.
And so, like,
Right.
people are like,
I just,
oh, Louisiana's a
again,
drag on the
I've
economy,
argued this
but
before.
really
I
it's
just
not.
think it's
just that the people
one of the
there
worst
aren't being
things
paid
in our
because the
Constitution.
corporations are taking the money.
And I think our founders were brilliant, but I don't really think they thought that one out.
Yes, I grew up in a refinery
And
town.
it's been abused
Are you
by
aware
all sides.
of like the refineries
Yeah,
in
absolutely.
Louisiana,
Well,
the
and
liquefied
as
natural gas,
culture
and like the things that happen
evolves,
offshore there?
I
Like
think so
it is
too.
I am
one of the
aware,
biggest
yes.
energy producers in our entire country.
Because
So then
there was a
what's
point
the
in
problem?
time that it probably was
Like
being
I've
used.
already told you, the ownership,
Culturally
like the
It-
oil
it-
companies
it-
and the energy companies
Well,
are now,
first of all,
like,
be
I'll give an
clear
example.
that
Freeport
it's a
McMoran.
federal
It used to be
pardon,
based
so
in-
it's not
in
for any state
Louisiana.
crimes.
Now it's based in
So
Austin,
that's
Texas.
really
Like
important
that
to
happened
make
in
that
our
distinction.
lifetime. A lot of like
And it's
Chevron
not
has
for
bought up
future
the
acts,
oil
it's for
companies
past
that used like
acts.
Amoco and all these companies that used to be doing business in Louisiana. They got bought out
But
by
if-
companies
What if it's
based in
past
Texas.
acts
So
that
then
you're
you
in
look at
charge of
Texas,
that?
or they've been
Yes, that's
bought up
exactly
by
why.
conglomerates
So like
based out of
Trump
New
went
York.
crazy
And then
at
you're
the
just
end
like,
of his
oh,
term and he pardons
Louisiana
like
doesn't do
50,000
nothing, but the
people.
reality is that those companies
Can he be
were sold
challenged on
by
that?
baby boomers and generations
No,
before.
not under our Constitution. It's a sweeping power. I'm telling you, if I were to do a new amendment to the Constitution, that would be my amendment.
Well, it seems that the caveat
And you're
is
saying
that
stuff moved
both
to
Biden
Texas,
and
right?
Trump have pardoned
Did they move
people
the refinery?
No, the business is still
in ways that benefit them ultimately, and so I don't know how
the taxes of the wealth
how
that
you,
people talk about, like,
amend-
oh, ExxonMobil made
amend
X number of
things
dollars and
because
their headquarters are
amend the
XYZ,
Constitution
or
the
many of the
pardon,
plastic companies that are based in major
process
cities,
because
but they're
Take it
actually
away,
being made
Jordan,
in
you just amend the
Louisiana.
Constitution
Then
with
you're
an
just
amendment
like, oh,
that
Louisiana doesn't do
eliminates
anything,
the power
but
of
that's
pardon.
because the
What
majority
about
of the
if
wealth that comes out of
the
Louisiana
pardon
are going
was
to other
only
places.
dedicated to
That's the point.
Where's the labor is what I'm
like
trying, maybe I wasn't asking you
non-relatives,
correctly. Where's the labor?
you know, people who are incarcerated
We've talked about
or
this
your
ad
commuting
nauseum for the last
sentences or
hour. Labor
liberating
has-
people from
wages have
incarceration
stagnated for the last
on federal
40
crimes.
years
Or
since
does that
Reagan. Is Reagan's
is that
fault?
not,
Basically,
or
like
is
labor
that
has
too
stagnated
restrictive?
for that long, so like all capital
Or
has
I
been
mean, you're
flowing
saying get
upward.
rid of
That's
that
why
even.
the top 1%
I'm just
of our
saying
country keep on
it's,
getting
it
wealthier and
doesn't
wealthier.
it made sense
that's where
in
the
its
money's
time
going.
in English history when the crown
My dad just
was
retired
not
from a petrochem
monitoring
company
and
in
aware
Louisiana.
of
You know, my
what
friends are
the
still working at petrochem companies
magistrates
in
were
Louisiana.
doing
But like
in
the
the different
petrochem company that my dad used to work
fiefdoms
for
around
got bought out
England.
by a German
It made
company and then
sense.
got bought out
Go
by an Indian
read,
company.
I don't know,
And then
Grok
like
or
if you're trying to
Google or
measure
just
like
read
the
the
wealth
history
out
of
of Louisiana,
pardon
it's
and
like
where it came from.
it's not there.
It doesn't make
because
sense.
The money's outflowing to a
You know,
foreign country, but now it's
our
like
our legislative,
the zeal
excuse me,
based
our
out of,
executive
God, I don't
branch
even know anymore.
is
I've lost track.
aware of what our judicial
that's the
branch
problem.
is doing.
Sometimes when you label these states
And we
as
have a justice
net
department,
drags,
and it just
you're not
it,
looking
it
at the
doesn't.
resources that come out of the
Historically,
state
it
that
made
generate
sense,
wealth
but to
for
me, I don't see
for
it
ownership
today.
elsewhere.
Someone argue with me and tell me that I'm wrong.
So I can see certain contexts
where it could make sense. In one-off situations with people who were convicted of criminal charges, but the criminal charges that they were convicted of are no longer
I mean, Daryl,
popular.
Let's say, Daryl, you're one of the smartest guys I know.
Or if there's a murder conviction and the murder conviction had evidence that was very disputable, but because of the limitations of the system, the person ran out of appeals. I know that there exist other means for them to do that, but having the president have the ability to commute the sentence is not necessarily an inherently bad thing. But if you have presidential
if we want to talk about bringing back
powers to issue pardons like that, or to issue clemency, or whatever the hell you call it,
China is the world's manufacturer.
There need to, at a minimum, be restrictions. For example, not being able to pardon members of your immediate family, and not being able to pardon members of your administration for crimes that they may have committed through the course of their capacity as a member of the administration. There have to be some levels of checks on it because it has proven itself not to be balanced.
I disagree with you because if new evidence came out in a case, you could seek a new trial, you can motion the court based on new evidence. Our legal system enables one to go through the process when a circumstance like that comes out. Look at who Biden not only pardoned but commuted. He commuted 37, was it 27 or 37 death row? I mean, people that were cop killers, children killers, that he commuted off of death row their sentences because he didn't believe in the death penalty. So, so you'd have to also look at commutations as well, and then governors have pardon powers as well. I mean, it's on a state level different, but I mean, just generally, you would maybe you need to fine tune the legal process of appeal and with respect to something like new evidence.
But I mean, him disagreeing with the death penalty because of his religious principles, that can be one case in itself.
But what was his reason? Did he ever give his reason?
Well, he's a Catholic. The Catholics don't believe in the death penalty. It's inadmissible according to it attacks human dignity.
And I think America really needs to figure out how to.
Is that the position of the? I didn't know that. That's the position of the Catholic Church.
No, yeah, the Catholic Church.
Wait, there happens to be a Catholic on stage, Joe.
No, it's not. No, it's not. The Pope may be personally against it, but he didn't rule infallibly that this is a doctrine and he must believe it. It's not true.
Joe, in 2018, Pope Francis ordered a revision to the Catechism.
It is not a sin to kill somebody in the course of a crime. It is okay for Catholics to believe in capital punishment. Abortion, a different story. But capital punishment, yes, you can.
But in 2018, Pope Francis ordered a revision to the Catechism in paragraph 2267 to formally state that the death penalty is inadmissible in all cases.
Title of the room is Donald Trump.
That's got nothing to do with your faith. No, it's got nothing to do with your faith. I can believe in the death penalty, and I agree.
Sure. I am saying that the church itself, currently, the Catechism says that it is inadmissible. And so because it says that, it is reasonable for any Catholic to take that position. While Catholics are, of course, welcome to have their own opinions.
Excellent, good, we agree on that. Excellent. Abortion is a different thing. I mean, and the way you characterized it, the way Abby was taking it was, the Catholics believe the death penalty because they believe in abortion according to the church. Of course, there's plenty of Catholics that are pro-life. I mean, pro-abortion.
It is true, though, that the church itself is actively working to end the death penalty.
I think Susie
Yes, that's true. That's absolutely is.
really running the show right
So,
now.
like,
Yes,
while
I really think
Catholics,
Jack-
sorry, excuse me,
and maybe
I'll
it's a
amend my
combo,
statement.
but I mean, I think
While
she's
Catholics on an individual
exceedingly
basis
capable, and I
maintain
think,
the
it's interesting, 'cause
right
as
to have
chief of
whatever
staff,
opinions they hold in earnest,
she has kept below
the church
radar.
itself does have these
Which he
opinions,
loves,
and different
right? He does not like
Catholics
to be outshone.
place
And I
different
think
levels of
I think
importance
she's
on what the
actually
church says, but the church says it,
managing
and
the
so
ship. I mean, and you're right. There might
it's
be
a-
some Jared
easy
but I
hand
think
wave for
I
Biden
think
to
Susie
commute
Wiles is running
as
the
many
show, and I think
death row
she's-
people as he
know, I
wants
think
and say that it's simply a matter of his
you can
religious
trust her.
belief.
This is a great fight, Brigham.
And
I'm
I
glad
think
that
she
we
keeps
ended
the
it
ship,
in a resolute way, and we're all happy. And I agree with you. And back to your regularly scheduled programming on Comey.
So I think
Oh,
that
I mean,
we have to
we've been on this
if he really
this
is
presidential
like
ability
running
to
the
commute
show, or
sentences
if he
thing for
pops
the
in or
last
they
little
put him
bit.
in the
We
chair
haven't talked about Comey
when
in
something
probably
has
about
to
half an
happen.
hour.
I just
I
got
just-
here. I thought that it
I
was
struggle to understand the
really
argument
into
that
Comey getting,
he's
sentenced
just the fucking
once
greatest
the
thinker.
new
And then at the same
administration
time,
was
they're calling for
getting
the
it,
25th
getting out of
Amendment.
jail.
It
But
can't
anyway,
be
I'll go
both.
back to the listings. I
So
usually
it's
don't
like,
jump
am I
in right
which
off
one
the
is
bat
it?
because
Is he
I like to
crazy?
listen first.
Or is he
I
crazy as a
didn't because you
fox?
No, I know.
definitely
Which one is it?
Yeah,
Yes, and I should have spoken
I
more
think
precisely,
Trump
not said Catholics or the Catholics, and
is
specified
impulsive
that
and
specifically
crazy,
I'm
and
referring
once in a while,
to
just
the RCC as an
I don't know,
institution.
Jared, I don't know if you play poker, right? Like sometimes you win
Anyway.
hands, and I think that's how Trump is.
brother.
Like,
We
if he
still
loses
love you,
more
my
hands,
guy.
he wins by far.
No harm, no foul.
But he wins some big hands.
I'm a big fan
I
of
think.
Catholics.
And I don't think it's
As individuals and as an institution, I'm a big fan
any
of
of
Catholics.
skill. I think
So am
it's-
I.
Yeah,
I just think once in a while,
Doesn't the Catholic Church accept the Old Testament?
at the poker table
Am I
and wins
missing
some big
something there?
hands.
They do.
So, you know, it's
Yeah, we like it.
for me,
God
right?
does
It's
allow
like,
the
so
killing
I've got
of
a former
enemies.
CIA buddy who lives in New York.
Oh, I don't know. I'm not a Catholic, so I don't know
the
how
CIA
this
is
is.
everywhere. They're not
You
just
gotta
like
look at
Yeah, I can
running
speak to.
clandestine things. The
Sometimes
CIA
you gotta,
owns
sometimes you
companies.
gotta,
The CIA
you gotta defend the wolf away
lot
from
of shit,
the
right?
herd of sheep.
And so
Sometimes you gotta do what you gotta do, my guy.
yeah,
Well,
they're in everything, right? And so it's
There's
like
a difference between the
we have
government
husbands,
says
you know, there's
that
stuff he will never
we
put in writing,
can and should
but he'll
execute
only
these
say, like,
people,
on the
and
phone,
God
like, in
says
person,
that
and
it's
he
okay
says, like, he
because
just
these
doesn't
people are
think
deemed enemies.
that he's
No?
running things. He's like, because
we have a whole
everyone
just
said
war
that this
doctrine that
conflict
St.
with
Augustine
Iran
came out with.
was
It's
not
It was very popular, it still is
Everyone
today.
said,
And it's actually
every
very, very well
analyst
written.
said,
If
you
you
know
read
what,
anything on
Jared,
St.
you know what
Augustine, which
size
is
their
really
army
hard shit
is?
to read.
No.
I looked
But,
this up. I couldn't believe it. They have a
It is
bigger
my
army.
understanding
Yeah,
that
army, I thought you said
the
armor. Yeah,
typical
yeah.
perspective of Christians with
Oh,
regard to
like-
the Old Testament
Soldiers.
is
personality,
that those are events of the
We
past
have about
and that Christ,
900,000, 900,000.
as their interpretation of the word of Messiah,
No, I'm sure they're Keystone Cops.
has
A lot of them, but they have
made it so
bigger
that
army than
Mosaic
we do.
law no longer necessarily
Yeah,
applies.
it's, you know,
Yeah, but he's also fulfilled the promise of the Old Testament. And then that's why we went to the New Testament. But yeah, that was a very good explanation, better than mine.
it's kind of like who, you know, so.
Sorry, I'm
so
also trying to like cross-thread the
this
different
whole
branches
thing
of
about
Abraham.
the Strait of Hormuz, right?
Do the
Every
religion or
analyst
the
said,
act.
hey, if we do this, they're going to shut down the strait.
So going back to
And then
pardons,
we do it, he does the press
You follow
conference, and
now
he said, I never
why-
thought they would have shut
can
down
you
the strait. That
still give me a
can't be true.
reason where
Because every
it would be
analyst,
necessary to
I
have
mean,
that power.
they've been saying that not only
Are you
military,
against it?
military
Are you
analysts, but
against it,
economic
Abby?
analysts have
You
been
don't
saying
against
since the early
pardons.
2000s,
Okay,
right?
great.
Leave this little piece
And
of the world alone.
I'm mostly
because
arguing
they're
for
gonna
the
go-
sake
they're
of
gonna go
argument
and try
because
to
I
shut down
already
Strait of Hormuz.
showed my hand and indicated that
So
I
it
agree with you. I
becomes a
think that we
question of-
probably should,
And again,
at a
like,
minimum,
a
restrict
month
the
ago,
fuck out of that power.
someone went
Excuse
into
my
the
French.
futures market
But
and they put a $2 billion.
I think that
short
there are
on oil.
arguments to be
He
made
comes
where
out
it
and he
has
says, we've got a
practical
deal.
uses
And this,
at
this
the,
is all
at the
public
very
record,
least.
right?
But
Someone
yeah, they
made
do all the
$60
clauses. I
million
mean, sorry for
20 minutes.
interrupting. I mean, I
And it's
agree with you,
happened
Miss
3
Abby.
times in Russia.
I think blanket pardons and other pardon in general has been abused on both sides of the aisle. But they have benefit on the civilian side, like war fighters that were criminally charged. And they were pardoned, and and so it really beneficial. I mean, it's gonna be hard to really put a good clause in there to justify not being abused. Sorry for interrupting you, Bridget.
How long can Iran do
I mean,
this,
you
right?
could have
But China
legislation.
has been
Assume you don't have that power. You could have legislation that could come into play that
so right now
would
the idea is that Iran is probably
reverse
sitting on
sentences
$30 billion
of certain
in their,
people
I forgot
that
what
were
the
convicted,
their
or
capital
of
fund.
people
So-
convicted
so
under
they were
what
saying that
was deemed a
before,
crime
where
at that time, and now it's not
they
a
thought
crime.
Iran would,
So that
like, maybe
those
have a
sentences
month
are vacated,
before they
or
really started suffering.
what's the
They
what's the
now
word's
think
not coming into my
Iran
head
can
when
hold out for
you're.
another 18 months financially.
I'm sorry, what?
Because China is
Not
playing
commuted,
like
but
they
all,
always
when
do.
they go away
Chinese
completely,
play the
when
long
they're
game.
Expunged.
And they are
yes, thank you,
they've been
thank you.
making future payments.
And
And
you could have
I
circumstances
don't know
like
if you guys saw
that
this, but
where
the,
you'd have
the
legislation
Chinese
that would
ambassador,
cover
I
it.
think it was Friday, said,
And I
hey,
understand if
like,
something was considered
can't
criminal
have,
and
China
then
is the
over
world's
time
manufacturer,
has become,
and China needs that oil to manufacture
accepted.
And
That might make
the
sense, but you
Chinese
could
are
cover it
starting
with
to say to
legislation.
America, hey,
I don't know. I just think we're really limited
causing a bigger
pardon power
problem than you
in
think
those
you are. They
circumstances.
actually say that
Another one
if this
that
goes on for another
occurred to
3
me
weeks,
just now
like the fertilizer supply in this
is
country
just the
will,
very
it's going to hurt
simple
us for 3
fact
years.
that law is general
I
and
don't
justice
think
is
that
particular.
Donald Trump is the guy
Um,
who is taking in all of this
I think
information
that still
and making
holds true. You
decisions
know,
based
Congress
on
writes
it.
broad
Someone else
statutes
is
and
making
prosecutors
these
charge
decisions, and
under
he's either going along
imperfect incentives,
or
and then
they're
judges
just putting him
sentence
in the
within a
chair
framework that may
and making
later
these
look
decisions.
excessive,
What do you think,
outdated, or
Marshall?
unjust.
I would argue a broad statute is, if it's overbroad, it's unconstitutional, it's gonna get challenged. So you can't write too broadly.
You've heard me
Sure,
rail against,
but
like,
some of them still
executive
are.
authority. I don't like it if it's
Right.
Republican. I don't like it if it's
Well,
Democrat.
it's not criminal, but in the civil realm, you've got
pass
Chevron,
the-
and
No,
Chevron
I
is
do have a
exactly
question
why
for you.
that happened.
What
It
genocide
was
is he
overly
funding?
broad and gave the APA too much
When I saw that,
latitude,
I'm
rather.
curious.
Yeah. I feel like a commutation allows the constitutional system to acknowledge that the conviction may stand, but the punishment has become too harsh. Which I think is important in areas with mandatory minimum sentences or
Like a pot, some people are charged with pot crimes and now pot's legal.
yes,
At least
You
you're
could do that by statute.
true. You could, but statute is also
That's all. Well,
notoriously more difficult to do, and sometimes you've got a situation that's a little bit more urgent than
I
that.
don't know. I broke this down the other day.
Um,
U.S. like
I know of a
just,
pardon.
like,
I'll tell you a story,
individual
someone I
spending,
know.
yeah.
It's a famous person
something
here in
like
Vegas.
funding Israel
So he owned,
on a high year.
or his family now are the heirs to
between
this. They own the
$25 a year.
newspaper in town and other
a high year,
big,
it's between
you know,
90 and
industries and very, very
$120.
prominent developers,
Really,
etc.
like, per year.
So in the
So you really
40s,
pay
after
nothing
World War
for this.
II,
We then
he
pay
was
for
involved in getting
training,
arms
Egypt,
over
Syria,
to
and all
Israel
other
for
places.
the War of
And
Independence.
that amounts
And
to
there was
like
a lot of
1%
people
overall
involved
federal
with
spending.
smuggling parts of airplanes
Right, it's just
through
not like it goes, no,
Czechoslovakia,
I'm
through
making a
Panama, through
significant
certain
amount of money
countries,
to devote.
getting, the
Most of the
fuselage
money
along
that
with
we
the
actually
actual
give to
airplane
Ukraine
parts
is
to
Russian
build out
money. And that's why
airplanes
out
to
of
form an
the
Air
last
Force,
week,
and also getting
they
guns
actually
over there to
lifted
help them
the
fight the War of Independence.
Administration
Because he was here in this particular geographic area, has some ties, had ties to organized crime, he was able to access and mobilize weapons and get literally boatloads of weapons through various crazy routes around the world, different countries. I think they even went through Africa up to smuggle into Israel. War of Independence happens. Obviously, the rest is history. They become a country. He was convicted back then of arms smuggling. And many years later, his son happened to be roommates with Bill Clinton in, was it law school or college? One of the two. And Clinton pardoned this man and took away his crimes. It was like, 60 years later or whatever. But it was a pardon. It just made me think of someone I know that was pardoned and where the climate had changed and,
but the damage is kind of already done.
What it was a crime back then,
something
viewed differently.
Unless it does.
Well, I feel like
I don't know if that makes any sense.
I feel like
that story, but
Hamilton's defense in Federalist number 74 is also a good one, which is, if I recall correctly, the criminal codes are necessarily severe, however, without some easy access to mercy, justice can become cruel. And then and thus be against the general principle of, not invoking cruel and unusual punishments. So it boils down to the idea that a legal system needs to have a deliberately non-judicial mechanism for mercy because courts are bound by law as written.
15th cousin to King Charles. If you go ask an AI
and
how
so
likely
with
you are to
the
be
court being
15th
bound
cousin
by
of
law
anybody on Earth, that likelihood is about 100%.
There are convictions that can occur that maybe people disagree with, maybe the president personally disagrees with, and it can be a benevolent. I mean,
I've always wanted to live in Buckingham Palace. He says.
Hypothetical that I
think I'm probably 15th cousin with him as well. The post, I have another post in my PTR, the one that he posted like 2 days ago, is him comparing, I don't know, some statue, I guess, that's important to Americans
takes it upon
under
themselves
Obama and under him. If you look very closely in his own post that he shared,
do a little bit of vigilantism after their child was
perfectly identical.
Assaulted.
It's a lie. It's AI generated. So that's 2 days and 2 stupid posts. And then if you go back 3 days ago,
the law by
that's not true. If you go back about a week and a half ago, Donald Trump posted an ad on his own social media for state.com crypto gambling.
But there's
so if you're not gambling
according to law for them to end up on death row,
and on that note,
just based on
it's funny though, right? Because they said when Biden left the White House, his net worth
that is a deeply unpopular situation because of the situation.
Trump's first term, they said when he left the White House, he and his family's net worth.
Like I can think of enough one-offs to consider.
Okay, so say with that one, someone else can chime in. I don't have to be doing all the talking here, but you could mitigate that in front of a jury. You can mitigate what the criminal intent was at the time and whether what the provocation and did it mitigate some of the crime. I mean, it doesn't mean because it's a statute and you committed a murder or an act of violence that through the process of a jury or a trial, some of that wouldn't come out and might justify, not justify the act, but mitigate is the optimal word. So I don't know if I agree with you, but I'm sure I'm boring people with this.
Go ahead. You can then blame in your elections for doing dumb shit.
I would say that in your example, Brigham,
there
is an alternative to pardon.
Right?
The judge has the power, even if the jury is going
Because
to
it's
convict.
like easier to
You
get
can have a
reelected.
directed verdict. This is,
and
hey,
you
jury,
don't
thanks
have
for showing
control
up. I'm
much
making
of
a
what you
decision
do.
that
When you
is
don't,
not the
when
same
you
as
get like
yours, and I'm
asked
gonna
the
let the
hard
person free.
questions on
So
the
there
court and
are
on the
ways for them
executive,
to
like
not
Congress
have to
is
pay the price for a crime
fundamentally
that they actually
lazy.
did, but there
then
are
Marshall, what about
circumstances
the
that the
courts,
law
right?
can't
So the
deal
courts
with,
were
that the
always
judge
kind
can.
of, we are independent.
I know.
So
Set aside
So
the verdict.
what?
historically,
But Abby,
yeah,
as an
you know, maybe, you know, you'd
have
have
you
conservative
ever
justices
known
and liberal justices,
other
but
attorneys to
it
provide
tended
ineffective
to be
counsel?
about the law and the Constitution,
Are you
right?
serious with that
And so
question?
it's,
Right?
Yeah, of course.
Right. And have you ever known judges to get things wrong?
Who's gotten things wrong?
Judges things wrong.
Every minute.
Right. And do juries occasionally get things wrong?
Yes.
Right.
But that doesn't change
And
our
on-
system, and that the system is a system that
It is.
works
It
and
works.
functions. It's gonna have inaccuracies, but if you have ineffective counsel, there are ways to redress that wrong. You can go
Yes.
back to court and petition for a new trial if you had ineffective counsel. If the judge was biased, you
Yes.
appeal. You have a process of appeal. If a verdict is also appealable, if information was not vetted properly through the jury process. I mean, we have within our system, embedded in our system, the ability to question those wrongs and to redress those wrongs.
Because
I'm sorry, guys. Could someone else? I mean, where's Mark?
I have a question. I do have a question.
Clearly it was a boxer for too long, and he's got brain mush, brain rot. That's where the actual
I know, guys, I
front
don't mean
of the
to.
frontal cortex
I'm gonna watch
dissolves
the
and
TV while
liquefies, and you
No,
become
I
the
actually
armor.
I like you, Abby. I like you talk. It's fun. What if for presidential pardons that it wasn't a sole executory executive thing where they could decide they want to, but they have to get it signed off by someone else. It has to be countersigned. I don't know who exactly would do that.
The system
if it's
is
a person or if it's a body.
a system
Would
that
that make it better?
works and
Because
functions.
if they make the choice of who gets put up, but they don't get the final choice of whether they get the pardon or not.
So like it goes to the Speaker of the House or something like that?
I was thinking that was actually my first thing, but I was thinking maybe it'd be better if it was somebody that was nonpartisan, or I mean, they had a party that gets put
Like
up.
a Chief Justice?
Yes, the Chief Justice could do it. That would be the best because they're actually supposed to be nonpartisan.
You still have to amend the Constitution to do that.
I was looking for a workaround. That was not okay. Forget that one.
You know, if we're doing a constitutional amendment anyway, perhaps it has to be agreed on by multiple parties. Maybe it needs to be both needs to be somebody who is the representative from all three branches. That might be good.
You know, a lot of people who believe in this minimum basic income. George Bush and Trump issued checks to every American. Hello? Can you hear me? Hello? So what I'm trying to say is, even though we're $40 trillion in debt, we can't necessarily delete it. But what we can do is just issue checks to Americans. And that means you have to be in the social... Hello?
It is fantastic to hear that you continue to be
Hello?
John, you're in the Matrix.
as possible.
Yeah, I can't hear you, John. You're gonna have to leave and come back.
Representative.
It's fucking sad because he's usually got some good shit to say, but I couldn't hear him.
Please don't do that.
Hello? Hello?
brought this pardon thing on? What was the genesis of this?
The pardon thing? Because we were talking about Comey and talking about whether he was pardoned when Biden went and pardoned everybody. We were talking about all the people in government that Biden pardoned. I was talking about that, and the question was whether Comey was in the grouping of Adam Schiff and all the people that were pardoned under Biden. That's how it came.
Yeah, okay, but that wouldn't cover his seashell 4786 thing, because that happened after Biden was no longer president. So that doesn't help him, even if he was. Was he on the list? Was he pardoned?
I don't know. I never got to check.
I don't know. But it won't help him with the problem he's got right now.
I mean, so what? Are you saying you don't want governors to have the right to pardon either?
Pardon you? Were you asking me or are you asking Abby?
Either.
What's the question again?
You don't want governors to have the right to pardon either?
I actually, on the fence on this thing, I actually like the idea of pardon but it's mostly, I'm not usually emotional about stuff. But I just want to make sure that if I ever needed it, I want to be able to do it, and I don't want to give it up.
Right.
Were you thinking like when the guy's on death row and they call the governor like right before they pull the switch, like that kind of thing?
No.
Like in the movies?
No, I'm thinking that.
I'm asking serendipity then.
No, governors have the right to pardon.
Right, but don't they always call the governor? Do you remember the scene like with Jim McCagney, like in the chair, call the governor, right?
Yeah, but that's because it's a state crime.
Well, that's what she's asking. She's asking that question.
Yeah.
I like that. I actually, that kind of goes along with my emotional argument. Other than that, I'm in agreement with you, and I think Brigham was in agreement with you too. It's just too easily abused because there aren't really any standards of who you pick.
Yeah, I think that Joe and I are probably more aligned on the issue than Abby and I are, but I broadly agree with Abby.
You know what seems odd to me is that when they wrote the Constitution, they tried to get rid of all of the, especially the Bill of Rights, afterwards they tried to get rid of sort of all the bad habits of the monarchy system. And the one thing they left was this notion of giving pardons. It's sort of like this king. The one sort of thing left for the president, you could say for the governors, is this king thing. I wish it was done at the sort of House of Representative level, where it would be based on sort of the will of the people, the representatives of the people, as opposed to a single person, which has no check.
Well, Yakov is glad, and I'm just glad that they didn't keep the other side of that coin off with his head. I'm glad they didn't keep that part.
No, I mean, if you look at the first, the second, the third, the fourth, the fifth, everything up to pretty much the Ninth Amendment, they're all big to rectify things that we didn't like that the British did.
No, you made a very cogent argument. I made a really bad joke.
Sorry, I didn't catch that. I have a hard time with humor, but I just don't understand why we have this sole thing left over from a king, which is the ability to...
It's not in it's in Article 2. It's not in the...
Yeah, I know, it's in the Constitution.
But my point was where it came from, and the whole climate of England at the time and why they had pardons, and it made sense historically. It just, it's changed now. Our executive branch is aware of what our judicial branch is doing. In those days, that was the fear that the monarchy didn't know what the magistrates were doing.
I think there would have been a better... if I was writing the basic Constitution, I would have put it with the House.
What I think it's valuable to keep is not so much with heinous crimes where people are killed or maimed or hurt really badly. I think it's more with white-collar crimes, because the courts do even a worse job with that. Because they don't understand financial crime, most judges, and certainly most juries. And there you can have a miscarriage of justice. And it can look like rich guy got richer, put him in jail. And he really didn't deserve it, but there was enough evidence to convict, and somebody actually says, you know what, this guy really didn't deserve to be in jail for this financial crime. Let's get a pardon for him, either at the state or the federal level.
I agree with that too.
Hey, I got a question for Abby. Can you hear me, Abby?
Is he in the
Oh, no,
Matrix?
you're in the Matrix again.
Hello? Hello?
It's clear on my end. I can hear you, John.
It says Representative Rokana says that Benjamin Netanyahu in the Situation Room is a betrayal of the American people. Do you agree or disagree?
I agree.
It was in the situation room with the gal on the app that was in the situation room. What's her name? Victoria. Were they in the situation room together?
I'm not sure. I think Victoria's Situation Room could be on the 23rd floor of a psychiatric holding facility.
I don't like Rokana. I don't follow him. Sorry.
So Rokana was hanging around with girls with Victoria's Secret? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, this with Victoria Rokana in the Situation Room.
Yeah, I'm voting for O'Connor and Thomas Massey in 2028.
Boy, do you see there's a really good guy running against Massey. He's a war hero, veteran, like wonderful, smart guy.
Abby, he won't even show up to debate Massey. Massey is destroying him, but, you know, obviously this guy has billionaires backing him, but come on, Abby. I mean, one guy's...
He's got a lot of people behind him. He's
not...
very
I mean,
popular.
all the statistics that Massey puts out shows that Massey's going to win. I very much doubt that this guy's going to beat Massey, and it's going to make Massey so much more powerful than he already is. I mean, you got to realize that Massey and Rokana have made over 50 people.
Has anyone looked at the polling in that district?
Massey and Rokana have been very successful. They have brought down over 50 people. 50 people have had to retire because of Massey and Rokana's Epstein file release. Hello?
Who has polling in that district? You know, Necro? Can you pull it up?
I haven't looked at it. All I know is that Thomas Massey has always been his own man, so I don't see it.
He's got a very apt opponent. Let me see if I can pull up some recent polls.
Yeah, I will be stunned if there's any person in this district that will like Massey more. Or that likes them more than Massey.
I'm 182 points away from being 1% karma.
You know, let me ask you, Joe, do you think karma is reciprocal, or do you think karma is just action and doing in itself? That there is no cause and effect from karma? Do you think people misidentify, don't translate karma correctly?
Karma comes from the gods through the app.
So what you're saying is Reid Hoffman's plantation, we're all just plantation workers serving Reid Hoffman. Okay.
You know, I actually looked up Alistair Crowley. I like who he was. I didn't really like you prior to that.
Oh, you hated me?
His name is Ed Gallerin, and the primary is, this is in the primary, and it's May 19th.
So wait, let's go back to the fact that Albert hates me, but now he likes the poetry.
Yeah, no, I like who you're putting up. I don't necessarily hate you. I just think, you know, I see why you do what you do, but I don't actually enjoy how you do it.
Oh, I see. You mean you don't like my mockery of people on this app who are worthy of mockery?
Well, I think you mock everybody. I don't think you mock specific people.
It's not true. I don't mock everybody. Some people I actually appreciate and listen, and you know they provide incredible analysis and thoughtful insight that I had never heard elsewhere. I'm an information addict. Hello?
Well, I'll talk more for you than John. I'll say more things going forward so that you can enjoy it.
Thanks, Joe. Just stop wearing makeup and everything will work out. Am I gonna get cake?
Yeah, I like how you don't choose to reveal your age, Joe, because you said you don't want people to think you're too young.
It's true. I don't want people to judge me for my age. It's not a good thing. You know, they're going to wait for me to grow up or think when I've gotten to a certain age that they can listen to me, and I don't think I need to do that. It's not necessary.
I was sure he was talking about me.
Can we get back on topic and talk about this corrupt police officer, Goomba James Comey, one of the most corrupt law enforcement officials in American history? Hello?
He's not a Goomba. The mafia would not take him. He's not even Italian.
I mean, listen, his daughter, she didn't even have to file with the National Merit Board. She's going straight to trial. And I have personally also filed an EEOC complaint against federal employees for violence at the workplace, sexual harassment, etc. But what I'm trying to say is that James Comey is so corrupt that thank God Trump fired AG Bondi, and now we got a real man who's going to take down a corrupt cop, because James Comey deserves to go to jail. And I can't wait for him to go to jail. And I will have a party, and we will celebrate here on Clubhouse when James Comey reports to jail. Hello?
He ain't going to jail because of the shells. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, there's a hell of a lot more than shells. Apparently you people forgot about Russiagate. And I live in Chicago, Illinois.
That's not what the indictment is about.
Oh, really? Well, the indictment expands as soon as we get him in some cuffs and his disgusting daughter. These people are traitors, they're criminals, and I can't wait for him to go to jail.
Dude, you're not wrong, but they gotta get an indictment on that shit. Like, that's what the original indictment was about.
Oh, the original indictment! It's just a shell!
The shells are actually a better case than you might think, but I still think it's about 50-50. And a 50-50 works really good for the defendant.
Okay, just because you think it's shells, and I'm going to now run a query, and we're going to get an extract of the key points from the indictment. Please hold.
Yes, you do that real quick.
No, take
I'll
your
wait.
time. Take
I'll
your
wait.
time and get it right.
I'll wait. It has absolutely zero to do with Russiagate.
Liberty, I've spoken more today in this room than I spoke in the last.
I know you have. You came in as a hot Catholic. Anne's still wrong about this indictment, but we love her anyway.
I just looked at the polling on Massey.
Yeah, I mean, I just like.
For an incumbent to be under 50% makes it competitive. So we'll see. He's got the edge on it, but it's definitely competitive now.
Yeah,
it's like 14% undecided in that district, something like that.
Okay, so I got the extract from the Comey indictment.
I looked it up. Yeah, Massey's below 50%, but yeah.
Okay, are you ready for the Comey indictment? Because it has nothing to do with shells. That's just the fake news. Are you ready? Do you want to know the charging language for count one? Or no? Too much? Okay, this is charging language for count one. False statements, 18 USC 101A2. On or about September 30th, 2020, in the Eastern District of Virginia, the scumbag defendant James Comey Jr. did willfully and knowingly make a materially false, fictitious, and fraudulent statement in a matter within the jurisdiction of the legislative branch of the government of the U.S. by falsely stating to a U.S. Senator during a Senate Judiciary Committee hearing that he, James B. Comey Jr., the scumbag, had not authorized someone else at the FBI to be an anonymous source in news reports regarding an FBI investigation concerning Person 1. Charging statement number 2, explanation why the statement was allegedly false. That statement was false. Because as James B. Comey Jr. then and there knew, he in fact had authorized person number 3 to serve as an anonymous source in news reporting regarding an FBI investigation concerning person 1. Number 3, violation clause for count 1, all in violation of 18 U.S.C. 100. Number 4, charging language for count 2, obstruction of a congressional proceeding, 18 U.S.C. 1505. On or about September 30, 2020, in the Eastern District of Virginia, the defendant scumbag James B. Comey Jr. did corruptly endeavor to influence, obstruct, and impede the due and proper exercise of the power of inquiry under which an investigation was being had before the Senate Judiciary Committee by making false and misleading statements before that committee. All in violation of 18 U.S.C. Violation clause for count 2. The full indictment is only 2 pages. Anyways, that's it. So, nothing about shells. Hello?
That's the old indictment.
What?
Doesn't 86 have multiple definitions?
Yeah, we talked about that a bit.
Sorry. Got into it a few minutes ago.
The new indictment is that he knowingly and willfully made a threat to take the life of and to inflict bodily harm upon the President of the United States.
Maybe just wanted him removed from office. Like, this is crazy.
So, go back to your indictment search, please, sir.
Okay, I'm putting in a new one. Tell me the top 10 extracts from the latest James Comey indictment.
Dated April 26th, 2026.
4.26.26. It came out 2 days ago?
Or maybe, hold on, maybe I have the wrong, maybe it's the 8th,
Okay,
28th. It was the 28th, sorry.
And I'm tagging Comey on X. It's going to be exciting. Here we go.
I fully support Comey, like them going after Comey. They should go after Bondi too, though.
Here it is, I got it.
Yep. Thomas Massey says he's going to go after Bondi.
What charges would you bring against her?
Count 1, on May 15th, 2025, at the Eastern District of North Carolina, James Bryan Comey knowingly and willfully made a threat to take the life of and to inflict bodily harm upon the President of the United States, and that he publicly posted a photograph on the internet social media site Instagram, which depicted seashells. Oh, look, seashells is in the fucking indictment. Just like I said, arranged in a pattern making out 8647, which a reasonable recipient who is familiar with the circumstances would interpret as a serious expression of an intent to do harm to the President of the United States in violation of Title 18 United States Code, Section 87 or 871A, Count 2, on or about May 15, 2025, in the Eastern District of North Carolina, the defendant, James Bryan Comey Jr., knowingly and willfully did transmit interstate and foreign commerce a communication contained a threat to kill the President, Donald J. Trump, specifically by publicly posting a photograph on the internet social media site Instagram, which depicted seashells arranged in a pattern making out 8647, which a reasonable recipient who is familiar with the circumstances would interpret as a serious expression of intent to do harm to President Trump. Any more questions?
Could you read faster next time?
Yeah, I have the actual indictment, and I'm looking at it, and you're absolutely right.
As well.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. So this is amazing. It really does deal with making threats to the president, and the fact that he's the head of the fucking FBI making sigil death threat, homicidal ideation statements about killing our president. I can't wait for this motherfucker to go to jail. He's going to fucking jail, baby.
Now it's all about the motherfucking seashells.
Guys, there's two separate indictments. Like, read. They're two completely separate
That's what I said. There was an old indictment that was dismissed without prejudice, and this is a new indictment, and they're completely different. I have no problem with the original indictment. I have every problem in the world with this new indictment.
You think people should be allowed to threaten the president?
I think we have a situation of free speech being targeted here because there is a lot of discrepancy about what 86 means. And the most general reference for 86 is remove, not eliminate or kill.
So your concerns are free speech? Are you delusional? Your concern is for free speech? Ah! That's not your concern. It's not free speech. That's not what you're concerned about.
This one's been on the books for over 100 years, and James Comey should have to defend himself if that's what it is.
Abby, how do they prove intent that he intended to kill him versus intended to
You look at the
remove him?
circumstances, you look at what, I mean, that's how you present evidence. You have to obviously discover and see other social media posts. You have to see whether there were emails or texts or anything that would express the intent for harm. I mean, you have to build your case. I mean, that's what they're going to have to do. And if they
why not own it? If you have a massive case of TDS, which it sounds like you do, then you're biased. They did a survey of Democrats after the assassination attempt, and fully 1/3 of them were upset that the assassin wasn't able to kill Trump. So chances are 30% of Democrats on this call want Trump dead, which means we have massive TDS, but you also are biased in your view towards things, and just own it. It's okay. We're on Clubhouse.
I'm explaining how evidence works in a criminal trial. What does that have to do with TDS? It's totally irrelevant to what he just asked me. I'm a Republican.
Abby's the furthest thing from TDS.
So what you're saying is
TDS. I was just explaining how you would prove this. You have to show the mens rea of some type that there was an intent, or if you look at it, and I was trying to look at it almost from a negligence standpoint on what would be foreseeable, because that's what we were talking about before. Is he still in here?
No, I wasn't talking about you, of course. I'm saying that, like in general, so many Democrats are so crazy right now with their brain not fully functioning that they have
From the
TDS
trenches of
so
World
badly
War I
that they're
to
so
the
biased
beaches of
they can't even
Normandy, from the
have a
frozen
conversation
hills
with
of
them. And
Korea
of course not you,
to
Abby,
the scorching
but I'm talking
sands
about some of the
of
others.
North
There's a
Africa and
couple
the Middle East.
I heard on here would just sound like, like no matter what, it's Trump's fault, Trump's a criminal, Trump's a bad guy. So Comey, of course, is innocent because, he's on their team. And it's just such a boring.
There's nobody on this stage right now that's a Democrat. We're all Trump supporters.
Necro.
Sorry.
And Necro wants to indict Bondi, so I'm reading what you would be indicting her for, Necro. So can you be specific on what criminal act? Because indictment would mean criminal.
Sorry, say that again.
So explain to me how you would put together your indictment that you're suggesting on Bondi.
I think there's a legitimate case that you violated the Epstein Transparency Act by not releasing by the deadline. And of course, also her leaking the names of the victims against orders.
Okay, but let's talk about what the Transparency Act, and what was her reason at the time that what was released was there national security reasons? What was the reason that was given?
Well, that was the thing. We, never got it, right? Is there criminal statutes behind the Epstein Act?
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to understand.
I don't think there's criminal statutes applied, bro.
No, there is. It's law. It's actually law that was passed, and by not performing according to the statutes and the laws, they actually violated the law. AG Pam Bondi, who Trump fired because she's a failure.
That'd be a violation. It wouldn't be put her in jail, correct? I mean, trying to say put her in jail.
It takes a future AG to bring those charges.
It could very well be administrative.
Well, she didn't. You'd have to look at is there an abusive process? Or I'm trying to understand what criminal act.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So I'm struggling with that.
You have to look at the actual Epstein Transparency Act and then determine. Again, it's a future AG that will have to bring these charges. Again, this is all just. This is Abby. It's just prosecutorial, objective. It's the future government if they want to do something.
Is there abuse process?
It's not abusive process. It's the fact that it's going to be, it's political. If somebody wants to bring charges against her in the future, that's what it's going to be. If she gets a pardon, she gets a pardon.
Under what criminal?
Again, it'll have to be political.
I'm missing what I'm asking.
What would they charge her?
So do you want to try this?
They wouldn't charge her. It opens her up for liability to be sued by the victims, but it wouldn't be. There's not a criminal statute behind it.
Oh, it's under the Retard Act. I'm a retard, Trump-hating, scumbag, and that's what it is. Why do we try to take it serious?
Yeah, I'm not.
She was removed. She
got immunity.
When she was fired.
She has immunity for the stuff with anybody that was named in there.
But Mark, the Epstein Transparency Act.
The DOJ, not her personally.
There were serious repercussions from this act. Over 50 people resigned their positions, and one of them was a Pritzker. So there were a lot of people that got fucked up by this release, and they had to resign their positions and resign in disgrace, completely separated, no pensions, all kinds of consequences from being in these files. And those people have suffered.
She did get fired.
I'm talking about the perps who were hanging out with Jeffrey Epstein, not A.G. Bondi. Hello? Did anybody spend any fucking time going through these files? Am I the only one that looked through the files? Hello?
I don't know why you're screeching like a banshee. You know you get mic time on the stage.
Stop projecting, Monica.
I'd like to invite everybody to Love Bomb Serendipity, the hostess with the mostest in this public space. Please share some love with her. We are combating negative karma, and she deserves every bit of laughter and love we can provide her. Also, welcome Bima to the stage. Nice to see you.
Serendipity is the best mod on the app. I just it's like my favorite mod. All right, so just going through this, if you want to look at whether she was in contempt of Congress, is that where you're going with it? Like, I'm trying to understand where the obstruction of justice comes in, because that's where she would have to be criminally obstructing justice in the Bible.
Like I said, I think there's legitimate grounds, but I am not the person who's done an extensive investigation, so I can't charge her. So. Can't charge anybody.
Well, I don't know.
Yeah, because I'm not a prosecutor, I'm not a DA, so I can't charge her.
Well, they're bringing charges against Dr. Fauci's laboratory assistant, who was helpful in bringing the COVID-19 vax disaster to America and the rest of the world.
Do you have proof on that, like an article?
Yeah, let me put it in the link. There's also this thing called Google, and you could also try to search for what I'm talking about.
Is he in the Matrix again?
Yes.
Yeah, leave the room again and come back.
I know there's a lot of buyer's remorse for those who got vaccinated. You made a bad decision. You were lied to, and that's okay. I feel for you. I hear your suffering.
Mark, how's it going? It's been a minute.
I hear your suffering.
What do you think is the real reason why UAE left OPEC? Is it just a fight with Saudi and UAE?
I think they're going to open up those lines, Mark. I think that the whole shipping line, they're going to, the intent originally before October 7th that the Saudis had to try to build a line almost going all the way through to the port of Haifa, like in that direction. And everything got screwed up after the 7th, but I think the UAE may be looking at that transportation route. They talked about putting a rail line in. I think it opens up trade going in that direction. I don't know. What do you think?
No, it's what I'm asking. I'm not sure, but it does seem like maybe it's a little spat between Saudi and Riyadh, and UAE, and where maybe Saudi's sort of growing colder on Israel, and UAE is obviously warmer. I don't know.
Well, they have been warm, but I don't know. Can we just not do the Middle East right now? I know, no offense, Mark, but like we were on something here.
Yeah,
we're staying domestic tonight a little bit. So can we just go back to, where's Necro? Is he still here?
No, he just went to the gym. He's going out on a date with a tranny tonight.
I'm still trying to figure out how.
Abby, what is it about Thomas Massey that you hate so much? I know he doesn't want to fund Israel and he's a schmuck, but
I don't like that what he does with the Republican Party. What don't I like about him?
Wasn't he trying to
major Republican proposals that come down to a hair of votes, and he can't vote with the party, including important fiscal, just various different types of legislation that he just on principle opposes, and it's problematic for the party, and so that's why I don't like him.
Wasn't he gonna work with, who's that dipshit? Connor, yeah, to increase the number of fucking, number of H1B1 immigrants that will come in from fucking India?
Yeah.
I don't mind parts of him. I understand he's more libertarian, which I can stand him to a degree, but he's, I don't know. I don't even know what the fuck he's doing, to be honest.
Well, maybe you should go to his X account. You could go to his Instagram account. You could go to his YouTube account. You can read his content. He puts out a lot of content, and all this ad hominem projection. It's just you guys aren't critiquing his content, his thoughts, his opinions, his economic philosophy, his legal philosophy. I mean, you guys have said nothing specific other than I just like him.
Fuck about his legal philosophy. I care that he's a member of the Republican caucus and he fucks them over. That's what I care about. I'm sorry, but one dude in Kentucky is not, to me, should not be determinative of whether legislation can get through, and he purposely goes against his own caucus on a regular basis. I mean, just look at his voting pattern.
Well, yeah, that's kind of why I like him. He is both parties, though.
I appreciated that part. I'm somebody who did not care about the Epstein files. It's just fucking retarded people fixated on it. But, to be fair, the president did release them when he was running, so it's okay, well, yeah, now you...
No, we don't do with this is enough.
Okay, this is Trump America. This is Alistair. We just, I have a vow now. I won't actually spend any time in any rooms with Pepe anymore if he's speaking. I don't want to hear his voice anymore. And that's that.
Yeah, that's definitely try that again. And so, I ended up talking to the cops, which was a bad thing, right? Because we got a ticket out of the deal. And, that was about it.
They let you off, but they just didn't do anything.
Yeah, a pipe and a grinder in my car, and I had not been smoking, but it smelled like weed. And the cop pulled me over and confiscated my pipe and grinder and was like, "You're lucky that you didn't have any weed." And the thing I've thought about to this day was that there was weed loaded in.
Ability and accountability is number 2.
And the cop didn't look, and so I got away with it. But those incidents are few and far between, 7 and 10 years ago. Don't do that stuff anymore.
One time when I was in undergrad, we were smoking in my friend's car, on campus, because we had gone out to out for the day, and we had come back, and we were before we head back to our dorms, let's smoke up, right? And so we were smoking in his car. This is before weed was legalized in California. So this is in 2015. And so they were smoking in the car, and for some reason, LAPD gang unit posted.
Yep.
And they whooped them, bro. Yeah.
Yeah, the Celtics dropped the game today. But they're still leading 3-2.
but that he's somebody who I don't think is it's likely an issue with him in general.
My baby Mariam is here. My baby. Oh, my beautiful baby is here.
So random. Well, I mean, I have views that are like not popular and like I don't like ever I've never planned to go out and like start like beating up people or let alone doing a terrorist attack. I mean, it's fucking crazy. But people that do that, and I think they have all throughout time. And I think like when people try to this is kind of, I don't like seeing the right use this whole what they call stochastic terrorism argument, where even saying not so nice things about will lead people to kill people, and it's dehumanizing. I mean, it can be at times, but for the most part, like no, we don't. I don't think we should be like a bunch of leftists and.
No, I don't know. What's your point again?
Well, you're saying that it's a problem, the rhetoric is propagandized. So in other words, what is the solution? That we end up basically clamping down on the speech that you feel would have led to Donald Trump, somebody trying to execute him?
No, we make sure that we provide information that's accurate to the people so they know that Trump is not a pedophile.
Okay, so how do you but then that means you have to stop the people who say he's a pedophile.
No, I don't have to stop it. I have to mock it. I have to tell them it's stupid. I have to tell them that they're only seeing part of a story and they're swallowing hook, line, and sinker, and it's a huge problem.
But there's people who will turn around and say that you're brainwashed and you're a stupid maggot. That's what they turn the old. And you're, I mean, they're not going to say somebody incites violence to commit murder.
Careful where you go with that, because again, Trump said, let's go to the Capitol and fight like hell, and you were vociferous. It's not whataboutism. It would be a prime case in point in which you would give leverage and power to the other side to be able. Okay, so I didn't finish my point because you interrupted me because you're sensitive and you don't understand the. Jesus Christ! Like,
I just to your point, Mark, I just don't understand, like, why people see the right essentially say that Trump making comments on social media about wiping out a civilization is just hyperbolic and not really that big a deal, and that in turn a very ambiguous post because of what the meaning of 86 could potentially represent is something that's worthy of us arming and sending our federal prosecutors after a person. And yet, like, we all wanted to make excuses when Trump talked about, wiping out a civilization, because we know he's hyperbolic. We know he says outrageous things. We make excuses for his outrageousness all the time. And yet, by the same token, oh my God, somebody threatened to kill Trump. And, with all this ambiguity around this 8647, I mean, we certainly didn't file charges against Gretchen, what's her face, when she wore the little pin that included 86, was it 8645 or 8647? I mean, she did exactly the same thing.
So serendipity, can I give you context, maybe help you with this? Serendipity, it's this, I'm gonna go back to like early days on Clubhouse, trying to do this to people. We actually have a standard. I mean, whatever happens to Comey, it's still gonna go through the Brandenburg test. Thank you. Who said that?
Me,
Was that
I learned it from you.
gets, yes, okay, so Brandenburg test, two-prong test. The speech must be intended to cause immediate illegal activity. And the speech must be likely to cause immediate illegal activity. Those are the prongs. It has to be intended and it has to be imminent that it's going to happen and intended for that to happen. That's our test. Thank you, Pepe. God, why didn't you become a lawyer? You picked up on this. So, I know you know
But Abby, the same lesson would be said, because now if a Republican in the future says go fight like hell and something happens off of it, they could be held if we allow this to pass.
Well, let's talk about, but this test got tested over and over in the courts many times. It actually got loosened more than when Brandenburg happened. And Brandenburg was a Ku Klux Klansman who stood up in front of a bunch of Klansmen. And the question was, did he incite the violence? Did he have the intent to have them go take down the black community? And was there a likelihood they would do it? And the court said no, that it wasn't incitement. So, and again, it became even more and more harder to prove incitement over the years. So in this scenario, it's interesting what you say, serendipity, because ultimately it's going to go back to if his intent was to dog whistle or to get people to react to it, knowing that there's a strong possibility that there would be the reaction, then it's going to be tested under that test. It's our law. I mean, and you guys can Google it. Where's my co-counsel Pepe? You go Google what happened in the case law post Brandenburg, that how we look at whether that dog whistle is going to bring imminent harm and the likelihood of it. All right, now I'm.
No, Pepe, add that to your bio, bro. That's on the resume.
Yeah, he's
Also,
Pepe. It's my understanding that's why you can use vague threats. Like, for example, kill Whitey, total N-word death, gas the you-know-who's. Now, horrible language, the social consequences will be severe for saying that publicly, but okay, let's just use the last example, gas the Jews, all right?
Because that means you're doing something you don't need to be doing. If you're ashamed of who you are and what you're doing, stop doing it. Point blank. You worry about somebody going to tell your business. Sometimes y'all men, these ain't all the way there. And that's it.
Universe, are you here?
Hello, my baby Marion, my darling. De la barra there.
She has no background in DC. So what are you talking about?
What, Henry?
I was just going to say, I appreciate the explanation, Walter, because I was also worried that moving her out of her current position where she is being so successful, would that create a gap that couldn't be filled? It sounds like that's probably true. So I appreciate the clarity. Maybe some other time we could talk about Vivek, man. That was the only other thing I wanted to talk about, but I'm taking up too much time.
Vivek, listen to me. I've been following his campaign. I don't know what he's doing.
He came through town. He came through town. You know where I live. Don't mention it, but he came through town a week or so ago, and I went and saw him. I didn't get a chance to talk to him or get a picture or anything, but I was standing there with one of the local mayors, and we were having a good. It was a nice little time. He came to a local Italian restaurant that's like 80 years old, and it was nice. But we didn't have much time to like talk to him or anything like that. But yeah. I just was curious. I didn't know if you have a sense of the campaign.
The problem with Vivek's campaign is that Vivek's campaign is being run by consultants instead of him. And what he should be doing to win in Ohio is running the exact same race that he ran for president, and he would win.
Yes.
So I don't know
why are you doing that?
I have no idea.
Oh, man. They got to hire you. They got to hire you and Chris and whoever the hell.
Listen, I'm not allowed to be hired as a political consultant because to be hired as a political consultant, you can only lose by a small margin. That's the only way that it works. Political consultants only get hired if you lose all the time. You can't have any good ideas. You can't have any any real guerrilla marketing experience. You can't have any real opposition research experience. To be a Republican consultant these days, you have to figure out how to charge $350,000 a month and do almost nothing. And that's the only way you get there.
Walter, you're a charming person, so please don't go work for Vivek Gomes.
I just wish I came up in this era of Democrat operatives where you can get paternity leave for like 4 months and get paid.
I know.
You can get, you got the good life. You know what I mean? Like back in the day, we had to grind for that stuff, and oh man, I don't even understand today. But these cats are making major money off these NGOs and nonprofit.
I will say,
I guess on the left side, that is probably true. They have a lot of money from they get a ton of money from the NGO side. On the right side, it's whoever can send the most useless fucking mailers. We got to send 80 million mailers, and they're all $17 each, and I get to keep $14 of that $17, and nobody looks at them. No one's seen them. No one cares about them. They show up in the mail. People throw them right in the fucking trash. I mean, these are the dumbest people in the world to me. I mean, the amount of money. I was sitting in this room years ago. This was I was in a private event at the Willard at a fundraising event with Club for Growth, and I was sitting there listening to these people, and they were about to raise, I think, $16 million for a candidate I was talking to. And I went around the room and I started getting to this last guy, and he said, "So, how much are you guys spending on mailers?" And suddenly the room went silent. And I said, "Which one of you owns the mailer company?" And the guy on the left side said, "Well, I mean, it's not my company, it's my brother." And I was like, "Oh, hold on there. Wait, what now? Your brother?" And he did this. They were not happy with me. I was not invited back. This is the reality of the scenario, okay? These people, this is what they do. This is how they make their money. They raise a bunch of money, and then they all take their cut off the top, and it's a fat cat society, and it's really obnoxious, and I cannot stand it. If we wanted to win, you don't need to do that. You don't need to use friggin' mailers anymore, okay? Mailers don't do anything. If you spent the amount of money on mailers that you did on YouTube banners and YouTube ads and X ads and everything else ads, you would do 10 times better. But these people, they don't have any concept of the new wave of how you actually advertise. I mean, the concept of a mailer is so stupid in the first place. Essentially, this is the way I think about a mailer. A mailer is like an impression, like an impression on X, right? You see it for 2 seconds, and then you throw it in the garbage. What's the difference between a mailer and something you see on X? Something you see on X that advertises to you, you can pull it up, and you can see it 6, 10, 15, 20 times a day. If you're paying it right, if you're advertising and doing it properly and actually spending the money on it, that impression will be many, many times. But a mailer is once, okay? And then you see it, and you put it into the garbage can because you go, "Oh, look, yay." It's like the stupid freaking... The goddamn text messages, dude. These things are so annoying.
I would just want to be a Democrat organizer on the left to do community organizing.
I don't throw it away. I got so much mail from Winsome Earl Sears, right? And my husband used to be the personal trainer for her like 3 years back, and I kept all the mail, okay? And when I saw her, I gave her assistant all the mail. I was like, "Please vote for Winsome Earl Sears." My mom, she got so much to her house, like so much to her rental property, and I was like, "Here's all the mail. I'm just gonna give all of it to you. Take your mail back."
You want to know why Winsome lost? They spent all their fucking money on mailers. That's
exactly.
Oh my lord, dude.
Hey,
anybody, listen to me. If there's any politicians in this room or any hopeful politician, if you ever meet a consultant that tells you, "Yes, we need to spend $800,000 on mailers this month and this quarter," fire them immediately, okay? Fire them the next day. Fire them the next hour. In fact, the moment it leaves their lips, fire them instantly. That should be the first thing you do. Yeah, but of course, and no one will hire me as a consultant for these types of things. I only like winning. So, unfortunately, I'm not allowed to win. You can't have good ideas as a consultant.
Oh, bro, you're out of business on the GOP, though, man. From what I've heard from you two, bro, these cats are dedicated to not winning. Like, they can't wait to not win.
They are absolutely hell-bent on fucking losing. That's right.
Well, and part of the reason why is not a majority, but many of these big consultants, they have these franking contracts with people in frank contracts and people in Congress where our taxpayer dollars pay for mailers and all these different things. You can talk about Axiom Strategies and some others out there, and so that's just part of what they do. And it's crazy. I don't know, man. If you're not in people's, if you're not, doing IP targeting and other types of geo targeting and micro targeting down and getting in front of people, having those all kinds of other creative ways in today's world, you're not doing right.
Guerrilla marketing is the only way to win now, and the reason for that is because the attention economy has gotten so competitive that why the hell would I pay any attention to you? Like, really? I mean, seriously, if you're trying to get someone's attention, if you're really trying to get somebody to actually pay attention to what you're doing, what you're saying, you have 7 seconds to get that person's attention. And if you don't get that 7 seconds, they will never care about you ever again. That's just how it is. That's just how it is. That much effort. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I just got one more point I forgot to mention. I added the YouTube link to O'Keefe Media Group, which reveals hidden camera video with Glenn Prager from the DOJ, who handled the first round of Epstein victims on hidden camera video, saying that Jeffrey Epstein was an informant and an asset for the CIA. So that is confirmed.
Yeah, I mean, dude, listen to me. If people think this is just like some hunky-dory random thing that, it's just some random dude, guys, you just get out from underneath the rock, okay? It's obviously an intelligence operation. Otherwise, we would have found out a lot more about it. Okay, but I got to go, guys. This was a great show this evening. Thank you, guys, to everybody who came to the show tonight. This is the Political Theater. I'm Walter Kerr. Make sure you guys follow all of my speakers up here on stage. Chris, Jared, AB was up here this evening. Henry, Zen, Sunlight, 10th Mountain. Make sure you guys follow all these people. These are good people. They got good content. Make sure you guys come back. We will be back on tomorrow night. Well, wait a minute here. I got to go to Michigan tomorrow. Maybe. If I get into the hotel early enough tomorrow, I will be on tomorrow night at 9. So we will be back as soon as we can. And there is a press conference, by the way, Thursday morning. There was a press conference up in Michigan, and we're going to be going over the fraud. That is with the state senator Nesbitt. So that'll be at 9:15 on Thursday morning. So there's a press conference talking about the fraud and stuff. That's the most recent articles. If you guys have been following the work that I've been doing, that's what that's going to be covering. So we're going to be covering that on that. And I think we should be on for the rest of the week. I don't know. I got to double check some travel stuff because I might be going down to D.C. Friday. Someone invited me to an event. They want me to go, and I'm going to try and make it. We'll see. But anyway, guys, we'll be back. Hopefully, we'll be back on tomorrow night. I don't know why I wouldn't be able to be back on tomorrow night. So we'll see you guys tomorrow night for more of the Political Theater. 9 p.m. weeknights, guys. We will see you guys as soon as we can, and we will see you guys next time.
I didn't come. I mean, I had a little bit of experience, but I didn't have a whole lot. But throughout my years being in, I'm pretty well off for myself. Done well, and I'm trying to finish this contract and just, go to the next chapter. But we did kind of hijack this guy's room, though.
No, we didn't. Hey, Universe, is that you, John?
Yeah. Hello?
It looks like you, John.
Hello?
Hello?
That's my call sign. Hello? That's my security password. If you ever need to walk across the perimeter, you just say hello.
John, the guy in the top of the room, his name is Sir Seek. Because he's a captain and he's active duty in the U.S. military.
You're making this far too simplistically.
And Sir Seek, the guy at Universe, he went through the Citadel to be an officer.
Oh, nice.
So I mean, I've been on this app for 5 years-ish. But dude, I think you and John would actually be kind of cohorts in crime.
Oh yeah.
Because like I said, he went to the Citadel.
Well, I don't participate in crime anymore. I'm strictly involved in politics now.
Yeah, well, that's because you lost your fucking congressional fucking run.
So you need ROTC or you need OCS?
I did Razzi.
No, he went to the Citadel.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you do ROTC at the Citadel. Everybody does ROTC.
University.
Military University, yeah.
Yeah, that's John. That's who you're talking to. You want to talk about a commission? He's your guy.
What do you think would happen if a black man ran
Good
for
to
president
see
this
all
year?
the veterans
Well,
out
let me
here,
put it
man.
this way.
I'm not
I
there
think
yet.
the results would be a landslide, and he would be under it. Slappy, what do you expect to do about unemployment? The same thing I've always done. Go down every Tuesday and sign up. Slappy White, do you think being vice president...
To be an officer.
Why the hell would I pay any attention to you? Like, really? I mean,
What did you call me?
Pepe says, I like to accuse other people of committing ad hominem projection. But then when I say that other people are committing ad hominem, is that me committing ad hominem projection against an ad hominem projector? Is it a...
That we have together, you know, my pussy's damaged, my pussy's damaged, my pussy's damaged. So they all banded together to try to create one big pussy, and they thought it would be stronger. It wasn't. It's still criminal activity again. Don't go after this ridiculous 8647 shit. Make it substantive, make it stick, make it matter.
Yeah, that's one of the problems I have too. I think this is shallow and superficial. I don't think it's good enough when we have evidence of him doing seditiony things. Propping up the Russian collusion delusion, making those Steele dossiers seem vital and important instead of gossip and innuendo. It's very frustrating. Hey, Edie.
I think it was a crime when he opened the investigation against Michael Flynn.
Me too. It's very hard to swallow. Roger Stone, Michael Flynn, Sidney Powell, all the people that supported Trump were targeted in lawful.
It was a political intended to tie them up and bankrupt them. So in this instance, while people can argue and he'll have to argue what he was meaning when he was using the term 86. What's wrong with him taking his own medicine? Like, I don't see it is politics. It's not like the Democrats are going to, they would have eased up on their lawfare until this indictment came out. They were literally promising to go after every Trump official when the House gets back in office and investigate, or when Democrats take majority in the House, and they're going to investigate every single Trump official. So, they're already promising lawfare against Trump. Shouldn't Trump fight fire with fire?
I'm going to
go after Pepe.
I 100% agree with you. I'm somebody who believed that when President Trump is in office, a lot of people need to go to jail. The way they went after Trump and those around him, they had to play dirty, and I don't know how else to do it. I personally do not really give a shit about Comey. I'm not the one who brought this up, but we kind of the conversation started before Comey. It was about, radicalization of the shooter. But when it comes to the people that were going after Trump, yeah, I do think something drastic needs to happen to them because they will just keep on doing it. How else do you stop it?
Well, what you could have,
Hold on,
what we
I
could
said
have done.
I'd go after Pepe, please. So 2 points. Abby, I back channeled you a PolitiFact that said that the odds of the Senate being retained by the Republicans has gone up. I think the Southern Poverty Law Center scandal is having an effect, and we should push that and amplify that. And that goes back to the propaganda message. We have evidence that people are being manipulated and told that white supremacy is the number one threat to our country, and we know better. So we should educate on that. And the second point is, Joe, we are tossing out odds about how likely is it that with this charge, Comey will be convicted and found guilty. The highest percentage the stage gave us was 5%. What's yours?
Talking to me? I'm sorry,
Yes.
I was.
Yes, sir. How you doing? Good to hear you.
I was getting a couple. No, I don't think it's likely, given the state of clearly in this room right here. If Republicans are thinking it's a bad thing, Comey better get a bunch of clubhouse Republicans on his jury to not convict him.
Well, the thing of it is,
generally speaking, one of the big things I think is being missed here is from one of the biggest complaints is Trump's first term was he promised in his 2016 election that he was going to lock Hillary up and spend the steady build up. And then after going through 2020, after going through 2020,
and I'll go on mute after Joe.
in the years under Joe Biden, it's actually polling very, very strong with Republicans, according to big data polling, and I can look at where it is now, that many of Trump's MAGA supporters wanted indictments, and they want convictions as well. And maybe they don't have the goods, but there was a lot of rattling of the chains a year ago by supporters saying, where are the convictions? Where are the indictments? Why aren't they going after Trump? And I think it actually hurts Trump's chances more with his base, and it is red meat. This is to get the base up. This is to get the some enthusiasm that Trump's sorely lacking with his Iran war.
Okay, and my concern is we should go after people which we have the evidence to indict, convict, and jail them. And if we're going to put up these charges that have little chance of convicting and jailing them, we're wasting our time and our credibility. And I get that MAGA's mad that more people aren't in jail. And also, I don't think this is it. And so I'm frustrated because I want justice too. But this is smacking of vengeance and revenge.
This is not on our priority list.
Go ahead,
Putting James Comey in jail is not our priority.
Our best shot at Comey would have been in 2018 and 2017. That would have been under the purview of Sessions, which he was a twit, and the DOJ was flustered. We had illegal wiretapping, misuse of a FISA court, omission and tampering of evidence to fit a narrative to go ahead and get those. That all occurred under Comey. Now, whether you could have pinned that to Comey, that would have been a different thing. But he still violated the Hatch Act. He also interfered with an election process in which that does carry criminal charges. So he could have we could have prosecuted him. They didn't do that with Comey. I don't know why. It's a short thing. But Comey could have done it. The Flynn debacle, as was mentioned, yes, it should have absolutely been reviewed and probably could have been over the pardon. And we could have probably found out that there was some mishandling of evidence and misalignment of that. The problem is, what are you going to pin her with? She survived Benghazi. Like, all the evidence that people have, you have to prove that she's criminally liable. I hate to tell you this, but I can't stand that cunt, and she is the worst person on this planet in terms of our political system, but they get away with it. Like, they're clean. There's nothing that sticks to them. There's nothing you can really pin on the Clintons. I mean, shit, the guy lied under oath in front of the American people, and they reelected him. The power dynamics there are you have to sometimes say, hey, there's really not much I can go ahead. After those hearings, Hillary's stock went up, and every man knows it was her and that administration that left me and others to go ahead and die. Like, that's just a simple fact. Quelled that shit. Her administration did it. Uma Abedin, Anthony Weiner. You can't tell me that was the first time that they had child pornography on their on their computers. The servers, the destruction of evidence. You had the crimes there, but they exonerated her. You couldn't make it stick. So, I mean, it's not just what you know, it's what you can prove. And you have to look at that through that lens. And if you're going to go down that pathway, we better go. And if we are going to do that, then we better find some fucking damn good prosecutors. We better find some Republican lawyers that can go on there and not just do CNN or Fox News sound bites and sound good on TV, but they have to be fucking dead on. And if we can't do that, then we don't have anybody to blame but ourselves. And Trump made a mistake. Sessions was the worst person to pick. That fucked him up from the beginning. He should have picked somebody a lot better. I don't know who it should have been, but I would have probably put Ted Cruz in. I would have gave it to him and said, here you go, unleash it. And Ted Cruz would have been a dog with a bone at that time, especially because he wanted blood and he wanted vengeance. And he would have went and got it. He would have found a law. But you know what? We didn't do that. Our side wasn't smart in that area. The Democrats threw everything they could at Trump, and he didn't get unscathed, but the man came back more powerful and destroyed the blue wall, destroyed every swing fucking district there we had. He took it over, and we have the power right now. This is just a distraction. We had the narrative for like 2 seconds, and now this is going to blanket it, and everybody's going to be cheering it, and it just gave leverage to the Democrats when we should say, hey, the political violence, your voice is being silenced. We could have rolled with that. We didn't have to do this. This shit was stupid. That AG just dropped the ball on us, and there